They're two brothers and gamers that have been playing games since the early 1980s. Combined, they have over 65 years experience. Join them each week as they discuss and rant about gaming and entertainment news. This is Generation X Gaming.
Everybody, and welcome back to another week, another episode of Generation X Gaming. I'm your host, 30 and Still Gaming, and joining me each and every single week is Sgt McClusky. What's going on, Sarge?
Oh, back from a fresh 12 days of doing nothing, being on vacation.
Isn't that nice? You did help out last week for the member stream. We did the race car thing.
Yeah, but I was still drunk, so I don't really count it as work.
I got to lower Sarge. Again, I got. All right. Yeah, so those of you that don't...
Why didn't you tell me I was so washed out?
Well, you have a camera, so I figured that's the way you wanted to look.
Yeah, but I wasn't looking at myself. I look like I'm a white ghost over here.
Gotta do you. All right. Generation X Gaming is a weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. We're here live Thursday evenings, 8 p.m. Eastern. We are also on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor.fm, and anywhere else that you could listen to a podcast, so make sure you go check those out. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Dead Island 2 a little bit. We're going to be talking about Embracer Group. We're going to be talking about the PlayStation Showcase. We're going to be talking a little bit about Grand Theft, or I should say Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto 6. We're going to talk about Sony and their mobile games that they're trying to go into. We're going to talk about Xbox and Microsoft with their new controller headset rumored that should be coming out. We're going to be talking about Gollum, because no one else is really talking about Gollum because, well, nobody wants to talk about Gollum. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. We're going to talk about Ubisoft's open world Star Wars game, and it may come out sooner rather than later. We're going to be talking about Blue Protocol. It got delayed. We're going to be talking about Marvel Spider-Man 2. They showed it yesterday at the PlayStation event, and they've changed a couple things with the traversal, and I'll talk about the good and bad and from my point of view, Sarge, and you let me know what you think when we get there. We're going to talk about PlayStation confirms a new handheld device, which we saw, and I'm kind of confused about this, Sarge, and maybe you can enlighten me why someone would purchase this, right? We're going to talk about Destiny a little bit. It took 5 years for this prediction to come true, but Cade 6 is back, and I said they're going to sell them to you, and coming back, so we'll talk about that as well. Bungie, we're going to talk about their next game coming out, which is called Marathon, which is their first game, which is back all the way back on the Apple OS back in the day. It was a first-person shooter, and they've changed it now to Extractor, extracting game. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the KOTOR a little bit, or the lack of KOTOR. We're going to talk more about the PlayStation CEO teasing about aggressive cloud gaming plans, and then there's some like I said, we're going to talk about the showcase. We're gonna talk about Sony a little bit. Makes a bizarre claim about Nintendo, which the numbers look fudged a little bit. So we're gonna talk about this a little bit, and then we're gonna bring up a small little story about the CMA, okay? Because it just broke that the head of the CMA, okay, the guy who pushed the acquisition to get blocked, happened to in the past work for Sony and Google. So there might be a little foul play there. Who knows? We'll see. We'll read a little bit about it, and we'll speculate a little bit there. There's a game coming out that's called Undawn that we just got the trailer for. It's a cinematic trailer with Will Smith. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And on top of that, we're going to talk about Overwatch 2, or the lack of Overwatch 2. And those are all the things that we're talking about here on episode 352. If you guys like this show and the podcast, make sure you hit that like button down below. We do this live, like I said, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern with live chat here. And if you watch this after the fact, we do appreciate you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to know when we go live every single Thursday. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, we are You can be a member for as little as $5 and helps us out over here. We're closing in, Sarge. We're closing in because of these beautiful bastards in chat of 100 members. We're closing in. We're at 80 members right now, which is amazing. So I appreciate all of you guys out there that are supporting us. So Sarge, it's been a while. It's been 12 days, it's almost 2 weeks since last time we had a show. Have you played anything at all in the last week? Nothing.
Well, you saw me play Destiny. That's about it. Otherwise than that, no. On vacation. Next topic. Over to you.
Well, I'm glad that you played absolutely nothing because I played a crap ton of games, Sarge. A crap ton of games in the last 2 weeks. Okay, one, I played a game called Caliber, which is like a SOCOM type of game. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit. Go back to our channel. We're live right now. Let me go to my channel and let me bring up Caliber. Right, I played this last week or 2 weeks ago. Or I guess it's like 2 weeks ago. So this is Caliber. It's a SOCOM-esque type of game. Okay, it was fun. It's a third person, and obviously when I go down into the thing, it goes into first person. So it was quite fun, right? It reminded me of SOCOM. It's not exactly like SOCOM. I was a little rusty with games like this, but I thought overall Caliber was pretty good. It came out in like April this year. Couple different game modes that you could do, small teams, and there's also 2 different modes. Or 3 different modes. There's a PvE, there's a PvPvE, and then there's PvP. Okay, so you can play against other teams. So you have to sort of like Gambit a little bit, like from Destiny. So there's 2 teams, and you have to take over. You're on 2 sides of the map. And you have to, this is the PvPvE part, where there's 2 teams, and you have to capture the points, grab the files, and then kill the guys within the amount of time limit. And as you do stuff, it makes the other components.
Thanks for becoming a member.
You're trying to beat the other team and also beat the the NPC. In this particular game mode, it's just waves of people, and you're trying to go through and kill all the PvE characters, the NPCs, with just a small group of your team. And then there's the PvP, obviously, which is like capture the flag type of things or elimination, team deathmatch and whatnot. So lots of different guns. It is free to play, so there is like microtransactions and whatnot inside there for cosmetics purposes. I liked it. Let me see. Let me go a little bit farther in the game here. I think this is the PvP aspect.
I just saw you walking around firing a pistol at point blank range and missing, and then it looked like you got mad, kicked the guy, picked up an RPG, and then blew him up with an RPG. Did I see that incorrectly?
Nope. You saw that absolutely correctly. That's absolutely.
How do you miss it? How do you missing at that close range with a pistol? I don't understand.
Well,
what's going on?
When I was rusty, I'm playing mouse and keyboard here, and
mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
Don't need to say that. Don't just. Edit that out. Edit that out immediately.
I'm not gonna edit it out. I told you I don't play mouse and keyboard. I was really rusty when I was playing this game.
Bro, if nothing else, you're better with mouse and keyboard.
Look, this is like an hour in. I'm much better now. Okay.
Oh, God.
That was me starting mouse and keyboard, and I was rusty. Chat, I was rusty. No excuse. I suck. So this was fun. This was a fun game. It's called Caliber. So make sure if you want to check that out, it's on Steam. That's one of the games I played. Another game.
Is it just 2 teams?
There's 2 teams, yeah.
That's it, just 2 teams?
Yeah.
It's not 4 teams or elimination or tournament.
Nope.
It's just 2 teams.
Just 2 teams.
4v4?
4v4, yeah.
Okay.
Then I played we played last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. We played some more Circuit Superstars. Circuit Superstars, that racing game. I was playing, and I was just trying to get the record for different time trials, and then I think I played. Is this it? Yeah, so I was doing the time trials, trying to get higher up in the time trial qualifiers and whatnot, doing mission laps, and then I also went for the time trial for the trial. This is also on PC. I was playing on PC. Or no, this was Xbox. I was playing, trying to get the best times. So I got the world record on the Top Gear track on PC, and now I have the top gear record on Xbox as well. But I think it's regional because some other people post pictures and they say they're the leader. So I don't really know how that's working. No one moves except the top spot. So again, this is a great.
Maybe the
little
game just lies to you and just says you're the leader, to make you feel good.
Yeah, it's like when you go to the arcade and you just type in your letters because it says you're at the top of the list, and the next time you come back, you're not there.
Right.
So this is a racing game that I absolutely love. So you can check that out. That's on all platforms, I believe. It's coming to the Switch soon.
It still looks like the advanced version of RC Pro-Am to me.
Yeah. Then I also played this game. This game is fantastic, Sarge. This is Starship Troopers. I like this.
Is it console or PC?
It's PC right now. It's going to be in early access for 1 year. $25.
It's going to be in early access for a year?
I think if I read that correctly, yeah. It's early access, $25 right now on PC. They're going to be adding a whole bunch of stuff. There's only 2 different game modes right now.
Oh, are they? They're going to be adding a whole bunch of stuff, are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
So lots of fun. It's exactly what it looks like. You're in. It's open mics. Okay. I just figured out how to mute some people. It is fun though when you're playing with people because they're just all saying quotes and shit from Starship Troopers.
Is there anybody playing crappy disco or techno music while they're trying to play the game?
Sometimes there's people playing music in the background. They're also saying lots of quotes from Starship Troopers. It's funny, if someone dies and you salute them, you actually get XP points for it. You can help revive. There's 3 different classes. There's a hunter, there's a heavy guy, and then there's like a medic guy. The hunter has a jetpack, so you can like boost yourself up in the air. That's what I played on the first.
Mostly so you get out of trouble. Is basically what that is.
Yeah, but you go up, not up and out, right? So it's just like a boost. You don't go as far.
Wait
forward.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait, don't try to skip over that shit.
I'm not.
You're telling me the jump pack trooper has a jump pack.
Yeah.
But when you use it, you don't go in any direction but straight up.
Well, you have to be moving forward and then hit it, and then you'll project yourself forward a little bit. But
okay.
Yeah. But when you're in the shit, you don't have time to push forward because the bugs are coming at you. So you have to like try to get up high just to save yourself.
Yeah, but I could be walking backwards and hit the jetpack, and I'll jump backwards with the jump pack type of thing.
So you can respawn up until the final wave. Okay, once the dropship comes in, you can't respawn. So if you die at the very end and no one comes and revives you, okay, you're out. Okay, there's 16 people in the game. So there's 5 squads that you can be a part of, and there's 2 different game modes. One game mode is basically go out, find the resource, and then move your way up to the base, build the base, do the final stand. The second game mode is that you can get gas resources and other resources, and there's different little missions that you go on, which is a lot better mission. It's about a 40-minute game compared to the 20-minute game that I'm playing right now. The 20-minute game is exactly what it is. You come out of the ship, do a couple of drop ship missions, and then you do the final stand. The ARC, I believe it's called, you're doing more base building, going out, getting materials to make your base better, and then doing a last stand, hold, and then extract. Okay? While you're doing that, it's really more of a team effort. Like when you play this game mode, it's just 16 people running around, all doing the same thing. But if you do the other game mode, it's squad-based. So you'll hear, like, I was part of Demon Squad. All of a sudden, you'll hear our commander say, all right, Demon Squad, we're moving towards A. And then your group's going to A while another group is going towards B, and another person's staying at base and protecting base. One's doing the hive busters and stuff like that, like killing the... There's a meter up in the upper corner, infestation level, which you can't see in this particular thing. It's pushed off, but there's an infestation level that you have to go kill these infestations. Otherwise, you get level 5, and you don't want that because there's just lots and lots. Your frame rates drop to crap during that aspect. But it's a lot of fun. It's a simplistic game that's just super fun to play. Okay, early on, like I said, it's $25. Fun with a bunch of buds. Fun with strangers as well. So this is Starship Troopers. So I played that.
Why did it take them so long to make this game the way it was supposed to be? This game.
I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure. So I got that. Another game I played. I got 2 more for you, Sarge, and then I'll be done. We're trying to go through these as fast as I possibly can.
But you're just taking the place that I would be talking, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
So this next game I played is called Warlanders. This is also a free-to-play game, and this is on Xbox, I believe PlayStation, and I don't know if it's on PC. This is a arena-type third-person game where it's 2 teams, and you can go into a different game mode that has, I believe, 6 teams. Okay? There's 3 different classes. There's a clergy, there's a wizard, and then there's a warrior. And when you're playing this game, let me get some gameplay here. There's a map. There's different towers in the map, and then there's the keep. Okay, you have to protect your keep. So in the beginning of the game, I believe there's 20 people per match. I think there is 24 people per side, and you're in different squads. Okay, and in the squads, there's all depending on what game mode you pick. There's people that pick assault, like so your team that's going to attack the other person's base. There's people defending the base. There's people doing mid-range stuff, and everyone has to kind of raise their hand, and then you pick what you're doing, and you have to stick to what you're doing. The towers
the map looks like a MOBA.
Yeah, the towers in the center are basically for ties, right? So if you see up on top, there's 3 and 5. So if it comes down to time and no one's keep gets taken over, whoever has the most towers wins the game. Okay. You get bonuses by holding a certain amount of towers.
It looks like it's a paper rock scissor game.
Sort of. It's almost like, you ever play Chivalry?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like Chivalry, but in like a cartoony form. It's actually pretty.
But Chivalry is not paper rock scissors.
No. But this is pretty fun. Then you can have contract characters that you have to. It's like Battlefield, Sarge. So if I pick the clergy, the basic characters, I have to kill and make a certain amount of points to then unlock the next character in my deck. Okay, does that make sense? So you start off with the grunt. If you want to use,
if you just mention cards instead of a third-person
there's
team
no
play
card.
shooter,
There's no
I'm
cards.
gonna fall asleep.
There's no cards. They just call it your deck. So you pick your different characters that you want in your deck. So when you die, you can pick another character. So it's sort of like when you play. If you want a Jedi, you have to have like 10,000 points to be a Jedi. You know what I mean? Type of thing.
Oh God.
So that's sort of what's happening here.
So which is the cheap guy?
The cheap guy is the clergy, the wizard, and the warrior. And then there's upscales. There's upscale guys that you can get. Like you can get like a higher tier warrior and a higher tier wizard and a higher tier type of stuff.
Okay.
So, but it's actually a pretty little fun game.
How many people play?
I think there was like 20. There was like 20 or 24 people per team.
Per team?
Yeah.
So basically, it's a mobile. This is a MOBA without the NPC warrior. It's just everybody's a warrior. Everyone's an actual piece in the game.
Yeah, and
that's what this is.
And there's like different weapons that you can take on top of the. You have to build. There's building in this as well. Like you build up the weapons. You have a battling ram to break down the keep.
Because in a MOBA, you have 3 sets of NPC guys that run out from the 3 areas. That's 15. Usually, it's like 15 to like 20 guys a piece, and then the 5 guys that you are. So yeah, it's like you're basically all the guys in a MOBA.
Yeah. So fun little game. It's free to play. I liked it. I'll probably go back.
This is PC or console?
This is console, and I think PC, if I'm not mistaken. Then I played.
How's the party chat in that game? Any good?
I didn't talk to anybody. I was just playing the game. Then there's this game, Sarge. We played it after the member stream. We downloaded it. Wreckfest, that Demolition Derby game.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I played it. It's actually a really fun. It's a really fun
Demolition Derby game.
It's a really fun racing game. Oh, here's the best part, Sarge. Watch this. I die in about a half a second. I hit the ramp. I flip, and then watch the person come and run into me. I'm instantly dead as soon as he hits me right here. Oh my god, my car is literally just destroyed. So I was literally eliminated within, I don't know, 20 seconds, if that.
Were you playing against other people?
Yeah, this was online PvP type of thing. So the racing's fun. There's lots of different things to do in this game. I love the destruction. The destruction's really fun. For a game that comes out in 2014, now someone did say they upgraded this along the way, so it wasn't like this, I don't think, graphically back then, but it's a really fun, it's a really good like car racing game. Like, it's so much fun going around regular races and just rubbing and racing, and pieces are flying off places and stuff. It's a lot of fun. Like, here, I'll show you some, like, as you're just doing the regular races, you're smashing and losing. Look at my car. My car, I literally lost the front half of my vehicle by running into the wall at a high speed. I got no hood. I'm surprised I have a wheel. Okay. And it's just a good old time, right? I'm playing against other people in the races. It's different than other racing games. You know, when you play other racing games and people are running into you, you're like, this is bullshit, right? You're like, play fair. This is all no rules, just because it literally promotes you to run into other cars, because it's like a side mission that you have to do, like do 1,000 damage of a car, or slam one and knock them out of the race and stuff like that. So
how's the catch-up mechanic?
If you're behind, you're pretty much screwed. When you're playing against NPCs, you catch up. When you're playing against other people, you don't really catch up very much.
Okay, so there's not really a catch-up mechanic.
No,
okay.
Not that I know of. Maybe you can set it. But Wreckfest, I never played Wreckfest. And after we played that, look at my tires literally like 3 feet back further than the other tire. I love the physics in this game. Just of all the debris everywhere. It stays on the track, right? It's really fun. So that's yet another game that I played. So Wreckfest. And then I also played Battlefield 2042. They're making nice leaps and bounds with that game. And I played Division, and I also played Power Wash Simulator, the Final Fantasy DLC.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Real quick, I know someone had a membership earlier. Jaggy Snake.
That's what it is, 30. You love arcade games. Cool.
Yeah, Jaggy Snake's a member of for 4 months. What's good, folks? And then Shadow Moss, as you just heard, he said, "That's what it is, 30. You love arcade games. Cool." I don't know if that's a shot at me. I don't know what that is, but.
There was a old arcade game of Demolition Derby. You could play 2-player. The advanced version you could play 4, but you had 2 steering wheels just to shift it as high and low, and a gas pedal. And it was a top-down view, and it was just like Demolition Derby, except that the stuff would appear on the map for you to pick up to like repair your car, or to try to fix damage, or to get more gas or whatever. But it was basic. But it was still fun. Like Wreckfest is like the advanced version of that.
Yeah, it's fun. I would love to play a member stream. I would love to play a member stream with a whole bunch of people with just Wreckfest. Like
Vigilante 8. Was that a mech? I think it was a robot. Wasn't that a robot, Paul? Pretty sure it was a robot.
I don't remember that myself.
Vigilante 8 was like a robot thing. Some fighting robot. Yeah, some robot thing. I got to look it up real quick, because now I'm thinking about it.
I'll bring it up. Let me see.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah, no, I don't. I've never played this. I'll show it to you.
Oh, that's like the spiritual successor to Twisted Metal.
Yeah, I played Twisted Metal. I've never played this.
Yeah, that's like Twisted Metal. Speaking of which, I saw the trailer. I went to go see Fast 10.
How was that? I thought we were doing movie reviews.
I don't. Yeah, we're not doing movies. I will say this though. One of the previews many of the previews that I saw were video game movies. Twisted Metal was one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo is another one. I just find it humorous that the video games now are getting movies. And Twisted Metal, by the way, Twisted Metal is a live action. And I'm sorry, it wasn't a movie; it was a series, Mike. Twisted Metal, the series.
The series.
Yes, the series.
Krebsy says Fast 10 Part 1.
Yeah, well, Krebsy, I mean, it doesn't have to be Part 1. I'm pretty sure you could just go on to the next movie. It was a cliffhanger, if you want to believe that, bro. Fast 10 ended the movie with a cliffhanger.
Okay, so Part 2 then.
Yep.
3 parts.
Yep.
Is it 3 parts, Krebsy? All right. So let me
3 parts. Good God.
Let me end this segment of what we've been playing, because I didn't play it beforehand. So let me.
You're gonna just push that in there?
Yeah, I forgot to hit it before.
Yeah.
Nothing but professionalism here, chat. Nothing but professionalism.
The sound works.
Now let's get to the top stories. All right. So the first story we're going to talk about is Dead Island 2 has become Deep Silver's biggest launch ever. Okay. Now, I played Dead Island on stream. I thought it was good. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. It's just like kind of the middle of the road for me. After playing Dead Island and then playing Redfall, Dead Island is like Academy Award winning game. Okay. Compared to Redfall. But Dead Island is good. The combat was decent or whatnot, but it doesn't matter what I think because I got a free code, so I wasn't part of this. Okay, so I thank you, Deep Silver, for giving me a code. But Dead Island 2 reached significant sales milestone, and the publisher Deep Silver says it's becoming the most successful release in the company's history. So it seems, though, that the fans of the original Dead Island have been waiting for years to follow up, and while 2011 release was not massively well received, it's praised for having one of the most emotional game trailers of all time. Sadly, the game didn't seem to teaser much justice. Okay, but however, the studio did seem to work, at least as Deep Silver has announced that Dead Island 2 has not only reached an impressive milestone by selling over 2 million copies, but it has also become the publisher's most successful release to date. The news comes from a recent Embracer Group report, as spotted by PC Gamer, says that Dead Island followed up as a far surpassed expectations in terms of units sold and overall revenue generated since the game launched in April. Now, so the first weekend, Sarge, it sold 1 million copies, and then it went on to sell an additional 1 million copies from the first weekend to now. So it says
I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So in Benji Sales says that Dead Island 2 sold over 2 million units. It says first weekend sales of 1 million exceeded management's expectations. Okay. It says biggest launch ever in Deep Silver units of revenue, and it's also rewarding to see that the decision to give the studio time to polish a game has paid off. Now, obviously, Sarge, not every game has to sell 10 million units to be profitable, right? This is not a AAA game. It's like a AA game. The studio is not very big. It went through production hell. It was in production for 10 years with 3 different studios. They kept passing the buck. So I'm assuming that again, this is very generalistic. The budget of this has to be under 75 mil, because we read a couple months ago that 75 mil was like a AAA studio, like it's a AAA game. This is not a AAA game. It's under 75 mil. So let's just say, let's give it to the 70 mil, right? Let's just put it on the cusp of maybe AAA or not. So it sold 2 million units. So it doubled, if not, it doubled its money perhaps on the top end. If it cost them 70 million to make, it made 140 mil with the 2 million copies, and that's good, right? It doesn't need to make Grand Theft Auto amounts of money to be successful. So it said, again, if you read it correctly here, it says first weekend sales of 1 million exceeded management's expectations, meaning they thought it was only going to sell maybe 500,000 copies, right? And it sold 1 million copies, which is, good for them. What do you think about? What do you think about?
I mean, well, I always try to compare like what's happening recently for the success of a game like that, because it's a zombie game, right? It's not really multiplayer. It's a single player zombie game. So then I think to myself, what was the last zombie game, right? Like, what was the last zombie game? Like, I think Dying Light was a zombie game.
Back 4 Blood.
Right. Well, Back 4 Blood really wasn't. That's a team-based game, and it was a copycat of Left 4 Dead. It wasn't like that type of zombie.
Left 4 Dead.
I got it. It's a spiritual successor. I got it. But what I'm saying is, I think the game did well because it fell in a nice spot where it wasn't surrounded by 10,000 zombie games, and it was a decent game for survival for a zombie game. Right? I think that it hits the little sweet spot. It's always a factor. That's the difference between you selling 500,000 copies on week 1 and 1 million copies. Whether or not you fall into the sweet spot. Does anybody want to play with it? I mean, it's very difficult for a studio to release a game, especially if it's been done before, and expect to have any kind of breakout numbers. You're hoping for 20% over maybe 30% over, and that way, you keep, as you say before, you keep the lights on. But I didn't play it. I've only watched reviews about it. It seemed fun. It seemed like a decent game. I think it looks dated because I've been seeing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was like the top end of like visuals for a game. But at the same time, people love zombies, man.
I think zombies are always going to sell. And again, they knew they had a goal, what they wanted to sell, and they sold well over expectations, and then some even more, right? The first week was over expectations, and then it sold over 2 million, right? So it didn't sell 2.5. Otherwise, they would have said it sold 2.5, right? So it sold just over 2.
Yeah, Krebsy's right though. Like there's these windows of opportunity during the year when these games release. And if your game releases and there's a lot of other games around you that are worth playing more than yours, your sales are going to show it. But Redfall was a travesty. There wasn't anything really big blockbuster coming out right around this time. And once again, people like zombies. So I'm glad the studio was able to absorb some of that Redfall fallout. Yeah. Triple pun. Swish. Oh my God! What? Oh
my God! You're right there. All right.
Yep. It's jerry rigged. It's jerry rigged. I told you.
So good for Embracer Group for Dead Island. I mean, it's nice to know that a game can come out and still succeed. I don't think it was a fantastic game, but it wasn't a crappy game either. It was just kind of like middle of the road, and it made, I would say, a fantastic profit of 2 million. It'll probably lifetime sell about 3.5 maybe. You know what I mean, over the time, especially if it goes on sale and whatnot. So at least they made their money back and then some, so they can make the next game. Now, not all good news for Embracer though. The next story is that Embracer $2 billion partnership deal falls through for Embracer Group. Now, Embracer said that the collapse of the mega deal of the partner, which still has not been revealed, I'm sure we'll find out down the road. The partner, which still has not been revealed, that was unexpected. Embracer said that it had verbal commitment in October and described negotiations as taking far longer than expected. Now, shares of Embracer Group were down more than 40% this morning because of that. And he says details, all documentation was finalized and ready to go as of yesterday, the Embracer CEO Lars said, told the investors Wednesday morning. He says, quote, we asked the execution of the agreement before our quarter 4 announcement. However, late last night, we received a negative outcome from the counterparty. Now, compounding the bad news, the company lowered
a negative outcome. Don't you love corporate speak?
Yeah. Compounding the bad news, the company lowered its earnings forecast for next year, citing games delay from a range of 965 million to 1.3 billion down to 655 to 840 million. Now, Embracer has been, purchasing a lot of game companies and studios, intellectual properties, making it more than 20 acquisition deals last year alone, valued over $1 billion, according to Drake Star report. Now, Embracer's portfolio includes the rights of Lord of the Rings, which they just announced a Lord of the Rings MMO from Amazon, right? And both the characters of the studio tied into the Tomb Raider franchise, which is also a deal with Amazon for a new game for Tomb Raider. Now, the company also expected $1 billion investment from a Saudi government fund, Savvy Games Group, last year. And it's been a rough night, Lars said in a live stream today. But he says, it is a negative outcome, was the last words on the partnership, and said the message Embracer got from the would-be partner as a deal made perfect sense. I want to know, Sarge, do you think it's one of the big guys? Do you think it's Sony? Do you think it was Microsoft that was making this $2 billion partnership deal? Or do you think it was just someone else that we don't know? Like maybe it was Amazon.
Well, a negative outcome means that they don't like you. That's what a negative outcome is. A deal, if it's a mutual beneficial deal, then you go through with it because you're making a game, they're making money type of thing. You know what I mean? Like when you say in your corporate speak that it's a negative outcome, that means some shit went down. That's their way of saying shit went down.
Well, you got to remember, they had a verbal agreement. Well, Saints Row came out last year, and it bombed. They lost money on Saints Row.
Yeah, right? So if I saw that on your sheet, I would be like, no.
So they're like, I don't know. You got to prove to us first,
everyone understands it's difficult to make a game, but when you release a game purposefully, just it's garbage and you release it, you can't expect a deal to go through when you don't care about the product,
Well,
right?
Saints Row does have that obligation DLC that they have to get out because people
Oh
pay
yeah,
for it.
yeah. The obligation DLC. It's not because you actually made something that I was supposed to pay for. It's an obligation.
Right? No, it's an obligation because
Yeah.
it was part of the pre-order. Like people pre-ordered the game, and now the game sucked, but they still have to make that DLC because people actually paid $100 or $120 for that edition.
Right, because you wanted the money up front. Right, you were selling the garbage up front because you want as much as that money as possible. So when you do lie, cheat, and steal, that you have to make up for it. But let's be honest, is that DLC really going to save that game? Or is it just basically some content to fill the void after I've taken your $100?
Right. So speaking of
How's
games,
Overwatch 2, guys?
So before we go to Overwatch,
how's Overwatch 2?
Speaking of broken games, a lot of game companies come out, and we've seen like the biggest companies that say we're not releasing it until it's ready. We're not releasing it until it's ready. With Cyberpunk, Battlefield, there was another one out there, right? Well, Strauss Zelnick, Take-Two CEO, discussed the GTA 6, says that Rockstar wants nothing short of perfection. Okay, so Rockstar's partner company Take-Two Interactive talks about the long-awaited Grand Theft Auto 6, saying the developers is seeking perfection. During the discussion, the success, the businessman Take-Two Strauss Zelnick have a little insight of Grand Theft Auto 6, saying the developer Rockstar seeks nothing more short of perfection. And when it comes to the franchise, it shouldn't surprise anyone that the sixth installment of the iconic GTA series is considered one of the most hyped-up games of this generation. However, there's no telling when the next installment will actually release, though. Did you know people actually thought, Sarge, that Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to make an appearance at the PlayStation Showcase yesterday?
No shot.
And I said, I was laughing.
No shot,
I
dude.
was laughing. I was like, there's no way. I said 100% that is not going to happen. The internet was ablaze, Sarge. People were so hyped up that Grand Theft Auto 6 was going to show up yesterday that they got let down. They're like, where's I was making fun of it the entire time. I was like, what, this is not Grand Theft Auto? So, obviously, Sarge, Grand Theft Auto is we talked about when they were bringing up the articles last year that because of the woke culture, they might change the writing and stuff. And I said, if they do that, that's going to hurt the brand. But if they're waiting.
Hey, first of all, that's nonsense. This would be the perfect time for full-blown sarcasm from Rockstar.
100%.
In the writing of their game to shit on everyone and everything. Perfect timing. As a matter of fact, you want not only parent groups mad at you, but you want the LGBTQ community mad at you. You want all the corporations mad at you. It's perfect. They can come out full bore and have everyone hate them at the same time, and the game will sell insane. It will sell insane. They'll be like, you can't buy it in stores. And everyone's like, we don't care. We get it digitally now. Right. Like, it doesn't matter. You couldn't stop it. Like, they could say whatever they wanted, and everyone would be mad at them. And then they would try to boycott the whole thing. And everyone in gaming would be like, I don't care a shit. I'm buying it. Yeah. It will be the greatest selling game probably ever if they did it that way. Like the reviews came out, they're like, well, we can't even put the reviews on because they say stuff in here that we're not allowed to say. And everyone's like, what? Yeah. What are they saying?
Well, Grand Theft Auto, like, it's got to be. Does it have to be perfect? I know he says short of perfect. Like it's gonna.
But that's them. That's Rockstar saying that. That's not anybody else saying that.
No, that's them. The standards that they're saying, right?
Okay, that's ridiculous. Do you know what kind of pressure that puts on you when you're you're trying to release a game, you're trying to make your game perfect?
You gotta look at what they've put out before this game, right? The Red Dead series, the Grand Theft Auto series. I mean, all those games. I mean, they literally took the attention to detail to make the testicles of the horse shrink and grow based on the cold weather and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but my point is that I do think that Grand Theft Auto 5, the way it was done, is the pinnacle right? They're going to do something different this time. It's probably not going to be that insane where you're bouncing around between 3 characters. I don't know if they're going up. I don't know if they're going higher than that. This might be a game that's on the same level or a little bit lower, but I don't know about like you're going to wow me past what I saw in 5.
All right, well, let's talk about wow factor, right? What do they have to do? Because there's rumors out there, Sarge, that the map is 2 to 3 times the size of San Andreas.
Yeah, but you could say it's a bigger map and just call it a DLC, bro. You could call it GTA World like we talked about in the past, and it's Miami Beach first, and then a DLC is all of California, and then the next DLC is all of New York. Like, you could just say that's what it is. You don't have to release it all at the same time and say it's the biggest game ever. Like, we know what you can do. We've seen it. Do you not remember how ridiculous San Andreas was back on the older systems?
Right.
What they were trying to accomplish on that system? So if you were just to scale that, if you were scaling and you said, this is them using the hardware of current gen to push it as far as they can, and this is going to be the version. Like, so basically this GTA is going to be the San Andreas of this console, where you're going to try anything and everything in order to try to surpass what 5 did.
Yeah,
right. And don't forget, 5 was amazing all by itself, and then the online portion just carried that game into oblivion.
Yeah, the pressure that's on their game based on themselves. I mean, to raise the bar from Grand Theft Auto 5 to Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be insane. Like, what they're going to do to the city, or the game mechanics, or how big the map is, or I mean, it's going to be insane. So Krebsy says water physics.
All right, so show of hands, who here has played all the GTAs? All of them, right? And don't forget the ones that were on the
top down.
The PSP. I think it was the Vice City Stories, Liberty City Stories. Remember those? Yeah, I played them all. So if you were to take all of the things that we've played in all the GTAs, right? All of them, right? The building of a business, the building of the crack houses, I'm running a prostitution ring. Like, if you put all that stuff, right, and you put it into 6, and then you actually did satirical, but you did real crime stuff, like real stuff, like, that's the point. The missions are more insane, but they're all based around crime things. So then really the parent groups are on top of you because now you're trying to teach my kid how to be a criminal, like that kind of thing. Like, one whole segment of the game is GTA, like find the cars again, like the whole thing, like. But make it where it's like it's all those crazy crime movies that you remember that you watched, like all of them, like all rolled into one with the good writing. Like, that's a 10. Right? Or that's, I'm sorry, like that's a 9.8. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's the game I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to top it all. Right? You're in a crappy town. It starts off crappy, and then as the game goes on, you become master crime boss, and you're building the buildings. You know what I mean? Like perpetual, like you talked about in GTA 5, where the buildings change over time.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Definitely plausible. Definitely plausible. But see, my list isn't so ridiculous that I'm going to say the game's supposed to be perfect. Okay, but GTA 5 was very complex.
Here is the
very complex
potential map size difference. Grand Theft Auto 5 is on the left side, and then, well, if you're watching the screen, left side, and then Grand Theft Auto 6 is on the right side. Now you can see. It's like the bottom half of
it's Florida.
Yeah, it's the bottom half of Florida.
It's not even lying anymore. Like the one on the left, it's like it's California. You know, it's kind of California, but you don't know where. It's an island, right? But that's literally Florida. Like, they're not even lying anymore. Yeah, it's not a misshapen thing. Yeah. The only thing that's missing is it doesn't look like a penis. Like, if they would have made it look a little bit more like a penis, it'd be more Rockstar.
They've just crunched it down a little bit, right? This is Key West. Then you got Miami.
That's amazing.
This is West Palm Beach right here. This is Daytona Beach up here. There's Cocoa Beach. This is Orlando. Orlando right here. Yeah. This is Tampa over here.
What are you talking about? It's Tampa over there.
Tampa, Yorktown.
Yeah. Your arrow's a little bit behind. I'm watching the stream. My bad.
Tampa over here.
Yeah, listen, I get it, But like, do you understand the time investment? Like, think about it. I know how much time I spent playing GTA 5, right? And I go down every street because in the old days, you were trying to find the shortcuts. So when you were being chased by the cops, you knew where to go so you could lose the cops, right? Or get the little stars so your wanted level would go down. It was like a little arcade game within the game, right? But the cities got so massive that it wasn't just you driving around and trying to find shortcuts. Like, you actually literally had to drive and look around town and find out where to go, right? That takes hundreds of hours. Look at the size of that map, dude.
Well, it's crazy. If you
look at the size of that map.
Let me go back to this. Los Santos City is the size of downtown, and then the size of Tampa, and then the size of it's like 3 of those Los Santos is like four cities on this map, right? The Los Santos country and Blaine County is this just this other open area right here in the center here. I'm not going to say like I'm super hyped about it because I know that Rockstar tries too hard sometimes, and they get in their own way, right? You remember how bad the launch was for online, but how ambitious it really was. We're talking about like the single player game,
how ambitious it was. Yeah, but it did have some problems in the beginning. It needed a patch. It wasn't like one of the first games that needed a patch. It needed a patch.
You couldn't play online for a month,
right? For me, I think they've had plenty of time, and they have plenty of money to pay off whoever they need. And I think when I'm saying that it needs to be done correctly, the things that I need to know, like, and I know they want to keep everything hush hush, but if you are doing Vice City again, like the 3-4 major questions I have is, what time period is it? Because Vice City, the 80s time period is what made it so amazing because of the songs.
Yep.
And then the other thing would be like, who did you get for the music? How many licenses did you have to get? Like, these are the things I want to know, because the radio station in the car is like part of the story of the game, right? And who does the commercials and the stupid shows they have during the thing? Like,
television
that
commercials
to me was amazing. Like, what was the one in GTA 5? The army guys, the defense force, something.
Defense force. I think it was.
I was dying laughing, man. I was dying laughing. I'm watching TV in a game because I didn't know I could watch TV.
Yeah, I would log in just to watch the commercials on television.
Right, Melrose. Like, and Laszlo, think of it this way. Laszlo had an actual story, right? Vice City, he was young. In San Andreas, he got a little older. Like, he had a progressive story within the actual game. That's writing. That makes the game feel alive. Like, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Grand Theft Auto, all games, whenever they announce this game, all games cancel. Like, within a month's period of time.
That is 100% true. If they say they're releasing in October, nobody's releasing in October.
Nope, nobody. Or November, like early November. It all depends where it happens.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. This game they say is going to anywhere between $1 billion and $2 billion. It would make its money back before it launches on day one.
There's no reason for pre-ordering. I'm not going to pre-order GTA 6, even though I love it.
I'm just letting you know that it'll make all its money back on day one. Yeah,
I mean, I think what would have to be added, and I know we're going to keep going on, but now you just started to be on GTA. I think what would need to be happening, you would need to have the other things added to the game. You have to be surfing. Surfing's got to be in there for some reason. You know, like other modes of transportation. You know, you got to put the hang glider back in there, the parasail. You got to put the stuff in for South Florida.
Skydiving, wingsuit.
Yeah. Right. But the ability, the size of that map makes my brain hurt, dude. We have just heard in the past now for the good 2 years how all the open worlds are empty, boring, samey quests, just wandering around, right? And they're talking about AC and the rest of these games that came out. The worlds are too open and no one gives a shit. Look at the size of that map, and nobody's mentioning that for Rockstar. Like, no one says Rockstar makes this giant map or has nothing to do with it.
Red Dead didn't have that problem. They had, like, if you went into out in the middle of nowhere, there was like nothing to do, but you would see a random pedestrian. But Grand Theft Auto's never had that problem because you can get in a car, motorcycle, plane, shoot somebody, kill an animal. Like, there's always something going on You can hunt for Bigfoot, right? There's so many different things that you can do in the game. It's impossible to be bored.
Just looking at that map makes my head hurt, right? Because you have to remember, in the original games, they start you off, they show you the city, they show you how massive it is, and they did this in every game. They show you how massive it is, but then they put you in a neighborhood, and then you can't leave that neighborhood, right? You have to follow the quests. You have to unlock the things for the story, and the story progresses, and then they open up another part of the map for you, so you don't go crazy and just start wandering through the entire game. Right. They keep you on a rail a little bit until it reaches a certain point, and then they say, now go do what you want.
Yeah. Well, right, because they introduce you. They're like, hey, do this mission. They introduce you to that section of the map, right?
Yeah, that's how it was. That's how every GTA was an introduction to an area and the quest leading you to different hotspots in that area.
I always drove around first, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, "Oh, when am I going here?" And then I would do a mission. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I went there for the mission." So changing speeds here, right? We're on the highway right now, Sarge. We're at Grand Theft Auto. We're doing 120 miles an hour, and now I hit the handbrake, and now we're going back to the shit. Right, they're not releasing that game until it's near perfection. And then
there's no such thing as perfect.
Well, for them,
polished. You want to polish it away.
Regardless,
regardless,
the next game that we're talking about is Lord of the Rings Gollum. Okay, which is the opposite of perfection.
Later,
right? Gollum feels like the perfect example of a spin-off fatigue. Okay. I was listening to Ralph Skillup. He said he played the game halfway through, and he said he had to stop because he said, I'm good. I'm not going to play this anymore. He said there was so many problems with this game, fundamentally, visual, base-wise, that he said that this is the worst game that he's played in 2023. And I'll tell you what, Redfall, he played Redfall and said that was the worst game he's played in 2023, and now this one surpassed it, and Microsoft and Arcane Studios are going, woo, there's a worse game than Redfall, which is just what the kicker is to this, Sarge. This is a $70 game. Another $70 game just to be $70. They have a $10 DLC just to have the people, we talked about this I think 2 weeks ago, just to speak Elvish in the game with voice actors and whatnot. So it says here, Lord of the Rings Gollum was supposed to be the next big action adventure title set with the J.R.R. Tolkien world. Instead, taking control of the characters like Frodo or Gandalf or Legolas, the game puts you in the players of Gollum. It aims to explore a new original story, and even a lot of people do not really want to play as Gollum, basically. Ultimately, the game is a proof that not everyone side character needs their own spin-off. I said if you take the same exact game that you have and just put Frodo in it instead of him, it makes much more sense. Skillup, and I forget the other person, pardon me, whoever, I forget the other person I watched, but said that the character and the stories make no sense for Gollum, right? Make no sense whatsoever. He says Gollum plays a key role in Lord of the Rings, but it's never a focal point to the story before the events of the series. He finds that one ring and is twisted by the power. After Bilbo Baggins took the ring, Gollum dedicated his life to tracking it down, which would put him into Frodo's path. We would need to spend much of Lord of the Rings, guiding Frodo and Sam to Mount Doom, while waiting for the perfect opportunity to snatch the ring from the possession. But they can't tell that story because they don't own the rights to that story, so they had to tell a story that they couldn't do, and they make their own story, which
makes no sense.
Which is just a bad story.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. So, Entertainment seems to think that Lord of the Rings fans really need to know more about Gollum's backstory, and Lord of the Rings Gollum will exploring the character's story 8 years before the events of Lord of the Rings. It still explores the period of his life that he has not been shown yet, but the story does not really feel necessary to understand Tolkien's world. There are so many other characters that have been great protagonists in the standalone games, making Gollum feel like a strange choice. Lord of the Rings Gollum seems to like the perfect example of the unneeded, unnecessary spin-off. We talked about this for months now. Who asked for this game? Nobody. And yet they decided to make this game. Not every character can headline their own adventure. Not every piece of lore needs to be fleshed out. And sometimes the antagonists can also remain the side characters. The MCU has begun failing into these traps with like Agatha and Echo and whatnot. So based on the overwhelming negative reviews for the game, it seems like that they're unable to write the story worthy of J.R.R. Tolkien's world. And with everything from gameplay to visuals also being criticized, it feels like this game will always be remembered as the unnecessary spin-off that players did not want. Now, we always, or at least I always, talk about first impressions are everything. Right? If you're making a game like this, now someone earlier in my chat said this is a waste for developers, and I said from a different perspective, I said it's not a waste for developers because they could be new developers in the industry. I put myself in this perspective because I worked on a lot of crappy commercials, a lot of crappy like straight to home video movies and whatnot, and I honed my craft doing those crappier jobs and whatnot that I'm not very proud of, but it made me a better person who I am in the industry. So
you need the experience,
right? You need the experience. So unfortunately, this didn't land very well. Maybe they bit off too much more than they could chew or whatnot, but this hurts because you would think something like this, especially with the IP of Lord of the Rings, you would want something to come out and be a smash hit. But it's like, this is not an action game. He's not killing anybody. I think Skill Up said
he doesn't kill anybody.
He said Skill Up said he did 3 takedowns the entire time he played. Like he comes behind him and chokes him out or something like that. But it's just kind of weird, right? So I don't know. It's another miss. And when they first showed this, I was like, who asked for this? Right? Within seconds of watching it, I was like, who asked for this?
But I have to go along with what you said a little bit. Like, you as an artist, you come out of school, you need a job, right? Some corporate guys get together, they get into their room, they decide that Lord of the Rings is something that they want to pursue, so they put a team together. So you get picked, you're excited, right? So it might not be the best game, but these are probably people who are new to the career. They need to get their feet wet.
Right.
So if you have a bunch of suits willing to put up money to make a game that they don't know anything about and pick you to do the job, you're going to take the job. Right? You take the job. Right? You get experience and you move on from there. But you know as well as I do, after looking at that review, what they decided to do with that game doesn't relate to anything from Lord of the Rings. They're just Lord of the Rings mask on whatever this nonsense is. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
At all.
Akuda says
you still get money. You're still getting paid.
Akuda Papa says he's worried about the Amazon Lord of the Rings MMO, which they had an MMO and then they canceled that MMO and now they're making another MMO. It takes place. It takes place in the Fourth Age.
They're gonna try to make it look exactly like Elder Scrolls, except the backdrop will be Lord of the Rings world.
Yeah, but in the Fourth Age, I believe they said I think they said Third Age or Fourth Age. I forget.
Whatever, dude. Whatever. The map is still the same. Right? The map is the map. Right? If you're doing Middle Earth, I know the map of Middle Earth. I got a war game, War of the Ring. I've played the role-playing version of the game. I played the miniature battle game. I know the whole map looks like from by heart. I can draw it for you. Right? So if you think Amazon is going to do right by Lord of the Rings, you're dreaming.
Well, no, they've already done wrong with the Lord of the Rings. So going from the Lord of the Rings there, let's talk about Activision Blizzard a little bit with Overwatch. We're gonna watch a video from Stylosa. He talks about, and we're gonna watch like the first 3 minutes of this video. He talks about like the whole drama that's going on with the Overwatch. What's happening? If you guys don't know what's happening, is that Overwatch basically and Blizzard lied 100% lied about Overwatch 2 and what it is. And when Kaplan left, I said, why is he leaving? He's been with the company for 19 years. He's the head of the thing. There's something's fishy going on here. And now we're starting to see what's happening here. So let's listen to him real fast.
They're going to be able to build this back. It's such an uphill challenge. It's so sad. Come with me. Let's break this down because this is you won't believe what's happened here. It's so ridiculous. This is from BlizzCon 2021 or BlizzCon Online as they called it. Now, I'm just going to hide the cretin in the bottom right corner. There we go. Look at this, right? What we've got is this fellow has gone off to become an...
Okay, he's now basically doing a hit list here of who left the company, okay? So you got the first guy.
This person has left, as I'm sure you'll know.
You got 2.
This person is still with the team. This one has gone.
3.
This one is now the director, and she is gone as well.
So 4 of the 6
core
here
members of the team
are gone.
Are pretty much, heads of the development team in their respective departments, right? You've got executive producers, you've got like lead technical artists, all of that stuff, right? This man, Jeff Goodman, he is also gone. I'll bring my ugly face back. Where am I? Hello. He's also gone as well. And I think Tim Ford is in this as well. Yeah, there's Tim Ford. I think he was associate technical director. He's also gone. So what am I getting at here, right? These people have left the team.
6 major people of the top of the of this game, of this company, have all left in the last 18 months. Right?
This is a brand new Overwatch team. But why did these people leave the team? You guys may remember back in 2019, Jeff goes on stage at BlizzCon and says, "We're reinventing the sequel." And nobody knew what the hell he was talking about. We're like, what the actual shit does this mean? We don't need a sequel. We just need content for Overwatch. What are you doing? What's going on? What we didn't understand is there was an absolute war going on behind the scenes. You had the likes of Chaco, who was, I think Chaco was like an executive producer as well, maybe. But he was like the barrier between Jeff, the executives, and Team 4 was still like autonomous and they were doing their own thing. And it was like this war constantly. But what had happened is Jeff wanted to give us a good game.
Right. Now, Kaplan wanted to give us a good game, right? And what he's about to say, I've said this all the time for all these other companies, right? When you have integrity and you have different aspects of your career, sometimes it's lonely when you think on top, right? Like you're like, I don't want to be a part of this, and you have 2 options. You can stay quiet and still work for the company, even though you don't like the microtransactions or you don't like where they're taking the direction, but it's a job, you feel safe, and so on. So you stay with the company. Or you make the hard choice and say, you know what? I'm out of here. I don't need this. I don't want my name associated with this when it goes forward. So here he goes.
The whole team wanted to give us a good game. But Activision Blizzard wanted to make money. They're like, no, we need a free-to-play game with a battle pass and a store. Now, this is where things get a bit muddy. And I don't want people quoting me on this because I don't... Sources and all of that stuff, I'm not going to go into it in this video. Let's just say I have been around Overwatch 7 years intimately. So I do know quite a lot of shit which has been going on. Basically, there was a back and forth from 2019 of, we're going to go free-to-play, we're not. We're going to go free-to-play, we're not. By the way, we're going to go free-to-play with a battle pass, and we've just suddenly decided this as you're working on other bits and pieces. But wait, the development is meant to be a big splash. Overwatch 2, what signifies the 2 is a massive PvE campaign that you can play through, and tons of replayability with hero missions. Now, be under no illusion here, guys. When I'm talking about PvE campaign, I don't mean what we're going to get now in Overwatch 2.
Right. He's not talking about just the story content. He's talking about the entire game they were building behind the scenes, which basically this game was Titan before it was Overwatch, and they dropped Titan to make the PvP, and then they were going to bring the stories and whatnot from Titan again, from the MMO. It was supposed to be an MMO. Overwatch was supposed to be Titan MMO type of thing, and then they switched
episodic, like, bits and pieces coming out every other season tied into a battle pass. No, I'm talking about a massive campaign that you could play through from the beginning as the game launched.
Think Destiny. Okay? Think Destiny, and then there'd be the PvP aspect of it as well, but there'd be a whole entire story campaign and leveling up your characters and whatnot.
And then you could settle down into PvE and do all of that character progression stuff. There would be 2 ways of playing this game then. You would have your PvE Overwatch experience and your PvP. That would have been incredible. It would have warranted the Overwatch 2. People would have gone, okay, we get what Jeff was saying, and that's fine. But all that got deleted by the executives. So it means that Jeff and all of those guys look like they're lying, and they're not going to.
Because they, at that point, now are lying. Because Blizzard was like, yeah, we're not doing that. You put your name and you're out there on stage in front of people telling you what we were going to get, and then you completely rip that from and make them liars. And they were like, fuck it, we're leaving. We're not staying with this company.
Have that, so they walk out the door. So you have to have ultimate respect for those people because they stood up for what they believed in and basically told them bollocks, and they were out the door. So let's go on and take a look at some more ridiculous stuff, because this is where things get crazy. So this is the GameSpot article. Now, we've seen this. It's now infamous, I think. Aaron Keller says this, and I don't know how this was ever approved by the insane Blizzard
What he's about to say is
just
ridiculous.
Surely you wouldn't want the actual director saying this. But he says, so we came to the realization that this was the right way to be developing for all of Overwatch. It was about 1.5 years ago that we made the decision to really shift strategy. That's when we rapidly shifted the resources on our team to work on launching Overwatch 2, and that's what came out last October.
Okay, so I can stop him from there. I can take it from here. Okay, so he just said that, so we came to the realization that wasn't the right way to be developing the Overwatch. It was about 1.5 years ago, and we made a decision. Like, he just said this last week, okay? It came out in October, meaning they already knew before it launched that they were going to make these changes before it actually came out. So here's the criminal part, okay, of Blizzard. People, goldfish brains, Sarge, goldfish brains. When Overwatch 1 originally came out, they said it was supposed to be a free-to-play game, right? It was free-to-play for PC, but then when it came to console, you could only pay the $40 for it, and there was microtransactions and all the other shit for it. Then they said they were going to do other things, and they didn't do those things. Now for Overwatch 2, it was supposed to be, again, free-to-play. But then it is free-to-play. But to get certain characters and certain things, you had to pay up front for the $40 so you can unlock the characters and so much. And people were okay with it. They're like, okay, cool. I want to support the game. I'm going to pay the $40 because they're giving us this PvE experience, and this is going to go towards the game, so it makes the game PvE experience better. Bullshit. It was all lies. They knew ahead of time that this wasn't going to happen, and they were just trying to get extra money out of them, out of putting a 2 behind Overwatch. Okay. What do you make of this, Sarge? What do you make of this? As Blizzard, there was a shirt that if you highlight it, it says "liar" in the middle of Blizzard.
I distinctly remember talking about this a few years back, where I said that consumers were going to buy a game based on promise and not actual quantity of game. You were going to buy a game, they were going to promise you that the game was going to have stuff in it, and then after the game didn't sell well, they would change it in mid-development and say, we're not giving you that anymore, after you gave them the money. I said this would happen. And now this is basically the fact behind my theory, right? Overwatch 2 changed in the middle. They didn't tell anybody. They knew they weren't going to do it. They sold it anyway, right? I don't know how you're supposed to feel about a product when you're just lied to the entire time. That's why I said before, and I'm going to say it again, I no longer care about what any development company says, no matter what publisher says. I don't care if it's a showcase, showdown, a showcase spectacular, a Summer Games Keighley Fest. I don't give a shit. The only thing I care about now is that you have a game when you say you have a game, and then we play the game, and then we judge your work. That's it. I don't care about any of this anymore because I'm done listening to the corporate speak, okay? The battle is this. This is the battle now, right? The battle is, this is what they say, not what I say. This is what they've said now for the last nickel. It's too expensive to make video games. That's why they had to raise the price,
right?
Okay? Inflation, cost, labor, whatever you want to call it, they said they had to raise the price. What their problem is they're looking to make a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time. And video games are getting more complicated, and they don't have ways to speed up the process in the areas that they need to make those margins. So they're trying to put together, that's why you have all these buyouts. You have all these buyouts because they're trying to get so many studios in the works that somebody's got something to come out. This way, the monster can keep eating, right? It's no longer about, hey, me and my 12 friends who've been working in video games for the last 10 years have an idea for a game. We're looking for some funding. Here's our idea. Do you like it? Would you give us the money? And then they go through with it. They actually go through with it. They make the game. And then you see if the public likes it. They're done with that. It's got to be guaranteed money. That's why they want the stores. That's why they want the battle passes. And that's why it's an MVP. That's why it's an minimal viable product. This is where we are.
So
it's not even arguable anymore. It's not even an argument anymore.
Let me read you some things, right? So these are good and bad, right? Overwatch 2 is free to play now, but heroes are behind a paywall. Random chance loot boxes are gone, but battle passes are in, and there's no free way to get the cool stuff. There's a free way to unlock heroes on tier 55 on the battle pass. You won't have to download a separate client, but Overwatch 1 is getting deleted forever, right? It's like they're contradicted of everything they have. They're like, oh yeah, no problem. We're good here.
But it's not just them. Look at every game company that's got a game in the works right now. It's all live service with battle passes and stores. That's the standard, right? They have to know that based on the number of people that they're guessing what the sales are going to be, they have a good estimate. That's why do you think they come out and they say stuff like, oh, it's above expectations or it was below expectations? Because a bunch of nerds get in a room, they start doing the numbers, and they say, well, the game should sell about 3 million copies. Right? After all the work, they say that. They say 3 million copies because they're looking at the number of the price for the labor for the game. That's their expectation, because your expectation when you're a business owner is you're supposed to be making about 20 to 25 to 30% over to cover your costs, right? So when they say things like, "Oh, it was under expectations," or it was over expectations, like they did the numbers and they were looking for the sale number, right? This is what we're doing. Every game company is doing the same shit, right? And in the middle of it, everyone's wondering when the next awesome game will come. And I'm like, the next awesome game already came out. You probably just don't have the system for it. You know what a video game looks like? I'll show you what a video game looks like. Even though some people don't like it, but when you look at it and you review it and you understand what it is, it's a video game, right? The new Zelda game that came out, Tears for the Kingdom, right? That's a video game. They had an idea. They built it. It's done. They released it. It's on console. You buy it, and it's yours. It's done, right? That's a video game, right? I don't own a Switch. If I owned a Switch, I would own that game, right? Because I love Zelda, but I just don't get Zelda games on the system I have anymore because I don't have a Nintendo anymore, right? But that's what they're doing. That's a video game. That's a win, right? It didn't deserve a 10. Let's go easy. But that's a video game, a real video game.
Right.
Everything else you guys are witnessing is some kind of conglomeration of like 16 ideas with 47 people's hands and how you get into their pockets and like trying to tell you how cool and fresh it's going to be to play with your buds. If I have to hear play with your buds one more time because of skins and battle passes, whatever, like it's trash, right? Show me a video game. God of War, video game, right? That's a video game, right? Show me the art. Show me what you wanted to do. Show me that someone believed in you enough to give you the money to do it, and then let's see what you did, right? If the basis of you staying in business is that your game has to have a battle pass, sell skins, and be a free-to-play model, and that's the only way it can exist, then the whole point behind why you made the game is no longer there. Where is the integrity and the love for the actual product that we worked for?
Right.
If that's not what makes you the money, and it's just because we've got the store, the battle pass, and the skins, then the quality of the actual product isn't there anymore because that's not what you're concentrating on. You're concentrating on what happens after we release the game.
Perfect game. I just talked about it earlier on the show. Dead Island 2. That's a game. Not the best game, but it is a game, right? It's a complete game. No microtransactions or anything into the game, right? You buy the game, you play the game, and you're good. Okay? And that is what... And they're not greedy. They expected so much, and they made more, right? And that game can now survive. They can make the next game based on the revenue that they made, or the profit, I should say, from the game that they made.
But that's the issue with gaming. Not every game is a win. They think that they're making widgets, right? We have to sell widgets.
Yeah.
And widgets come with sparkles and glitter and all kinds of, but we have to sell widgets. Like you're not selling widgets. You're selling an idea and art to strangers. The stranger has to actually like what you're doing in order to give you the money for it, right? Not every game is going to sell 10 million copies. But you notice the ones that they do sell 10 million copies of, they do copy pasta every year because they know they can. Right? And so if I give them benefit of the doubt, let's say a company A has a cookie cutter game that they release every couple years. That's exactly the same that sells 10 million copies. Wonderful. You got your money, right? Now, if the other companies underneath you who you run are making these other games for you, let them make the games. No. Every game's got to be like the cookie cutter one, just in a different genre, and we attach things to it that it's not a video game anymore.
Yeah.
It's basically the most decorative storefront you could ever imagine. Look how pretty my store looks. Well, is it a store? Is it a game? Oh
And
no,
and
it's an interactive experience.
and the worst part,
they can't even call it a video game anymore. They have to call it they're calling everything now is an experience, bro. You're having an interactive experience. Our new high-tech experience is for everyone.
Well,
everyone should try the experience.
The worst part about this with all these type of games is that the storefront and the battle pass constantly get updated, but the game is still buggy, broken, unfinished. And they're like, yeah, you can still buy the stuff.
But the store works.
Yeah, wait for the patch, but the store works. Exactly.
The store works, right? So the downfall is going to be that consumers don't care about the quality of product. They only care about being entertained. And if the entertainment is free and then I buy $20 skins, well, then that's okay. But that takes away from the meritocracy of the person who actually makes the game.
Right.
If you're a shitty game developer and after 10 years you don't get better, you just keep making shitty games with storefronts, okay? Then we don't progress anywhere. I'm not sure how you know how this works, but like you want the best people to keep doing better, and the product gets better, and then the competition gets better. If everyone's doing storefront bullshit and no one gives a shit about the actual quality of the game, then where do you think the actual industry is in 5 years?
Hey, Sarge, do me a favor, lower your gain a little bit on your headset, on your microphone, a little bit. All right, let's go to the next topic, Sarge. Next topic I want to talk about. It's a short one, right? It's a short one. Is sources Ubisoft open world Star Wars game maybe sooner than you think, right? So here's good and bad, right? We just heard about this game in 2020, right? We're in 2023 now, and potentially it might arrive by March of 2020. Now, look, Star Wars IP in the film industry and stuff to me is just dead. The only thing that's still alive for me is the video game industry of Star Wars games, right? The Star Wars games have been pretty decent, pretty good in the last couple of years, even Battlefront, right? The Star Wars game that Ubisoft is making, Massive Entertainment is making, they say that it could come out in the next, well, this is what they say. It says Assassin's Creed maker announces a large operating loss in history on May 16th, but promise investors a healthy slate of big upcoming releases for the upcoming fiscal year, which runs from March of 2024, in addition to release of the Assassin's Creed Mirage, Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, and a missing in action pirate blockbuster, which is Skull and Bones. Ubisoft said another large game would also release within the next 12 months, according to sources familiar with the company's plans.
Thanks for becoming a member.
Who wish to remain anonymous because they are not authorized to speak to the press. That additional game of Ubisoft open world Star Wars game. Okay. Now, the first reveal back in 2021, Project Helix, as known as internally in being developed as a massive as the lead studio, best known for Division 1 and 2. Military loot shooter creative director says at the time that the Star Wars game would be a big departure from the series and totally different from the sorts of game Massive had worked on in the past. Now, two sources tell Kotaku that development of the project, which seems likely to include some of the from the interplanetary space travel, hasn't been progressing well, and hopes as are high internally that the game could be Ubisoft's first non-Assassin's Creed blockbuster hit in some time. But they also say that the company's goal is to release the game within the current fiscal year. Probably too ambitious, and they still expect it to ultimately slip into sometime the following fiscal year, which is April of 2024 through March of 2025. So, look, I want this game to succeed. I want this game to be good. It's in a studio that is like a hit or miss for me, right? I love Division, right? I really like Division. I fell off the Assassin's Creed wagon. I want them to take their time with this game. I don't want them to push it out, but we do know that they're putting a big Star Wars game out every 6 months and every small game every 6 months, right? We got the big one, which is Jedi Survivor this year. We're waiting for the small one to happen. Next year, what's the big game Star Wars coming out with? It could be this massive game, and if it comes out, we could be talking about, well, microtransactions. We could be talking about buggy, broken games when it launches, and I don't want that. What do you think, Sarge? Do you think this has a shot to come out next year, or do you think they push it back into the fiscal year going into 2025, early 2025?
If you listen to the news reports on the actual publishers, they have these grand ideas that they're going to release 26 games by the end of 2026. And I think to myself, you guys have no shot at releasing 26 games by the end of 2026. You guys are always late, always delayed, and always overpromising. So I don't understand where they're coming from when they say this kind of thing. I just don't get it anymore. I just don't. Right? I want to know when they're going to just stop talking and actually make a video game with a day and date.
Right.
Right? That's what I want. Right? That's what I want. I don't even think it's possible anymore. I don't think it's possible. I don't think if a Star Wars game comes out, right, at all, it's a remake. I'm telling you right now, if a game comes out, it's a remake. Because if for them to make an announcement, it has to either be a Keeley Fest, right? And once again, you know when the game is done. The last 3 months of a game's existence before it goes to market is supposed to be for testing and bug fixing and polishing. The last 3 months. So you know when you give a date, you know that you're done, right? Why do you think when Fallout 4 was released, they were like, hey, by the way, game's done, and it's out, right? It came out when it was done because they were in the final stages. They knew they could say it, right? Everybody else just says whatever they want. And everyone keeps going, oh, well, it's delayed, it's delayed, it's delayed, it's delayed. Like everything is delayed, right? Nothing has to be delayed because you don't know when it's going to be done. You're supposed to know when it's supposed to be done, right? You know. So at this point, what do you got for me? What do you want me to? What is the fictitious hype I'm supposed to feel for you for the Star Wars game? What do you think it's going to be? You think it's going to be an RTS? Because that would be the other game I say.
No, it's not an RTS.
Right?
It's an open world. It's like Division.
Well, if it's like Division,
it's an open world Star Wars game.
Then you name what it could be. What could it be?
I mean, I think it's. I think it's something along the lines of
a game that's coming. Listen to yourself. Listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth. Ready? A Star Wars game's coming out next year, right?
Potentially.
Nobody knows anything about it. There's no talk about it. There's no leaks about it. No screenshots.
That's true.
What the screenshots that we saw from 5 years ago?
No,
the other footage from other games.
No, there's no screen, but there are people playing the game right now. That's fact.
Yeah,
there's people play testing the game right now, so it does exist. Okay. So I don't know anything about it, but I think it's I have Division in my head, right? So I'm thinking it's
Bad Batch,
like a Bad Batch type of Clone Wars type of game, right? Like you're a clone trooper, maybe you're a bounty hunter. I don't know. I know nothing about this. These are just shots in the dark of what the game is.
Well, let's go basic. Right, let's go basic. Would you buy the game? Ready? Let's go basic. So let's say it kind of looks like Division, but instead of being one map, you can go to different worlds, but the maps are got like set things to it, right?
Sure. Well, just think of Division, New York and DC. Yeah.
DC, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So now we'll say that you're a bounty hunter, and the most of the game is you actually going on bounties like you do in Division, except these are guys you have to hunt down, but you're the bounty hunter. And so you keep getting better weapons and you go try to find them and you don't know where they are. You just know the area that you have to go ask around for them. Same type of game, right? That's just one of the little activities you're doing inside a Division is the bounties.
Right.
It's not the actual missions, but it's part of the game. So imagine a Star Wars game that's just like that. Would you buy that game? Would you buy a game where I'm a bounty hunter looking to hunt down people, and it's just because that's got Star Wars on it, you would buy it?
I would.
Or would you need an actual video game that has some kind of plot story and some background to it?
I would. It all depends on what it is, right? Obviously, I'm hyped because of Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars fan.
I know.
It doesn't mean I would blindly buy it just because it's Star Wars, but I mean, obviously, if it has I never bought Pod Racer. I didn't like pod racing, right? So. If it's a game I'm interested in, if it's a looter, if it's just an open world story kind of driven, if it's a co-op game like Republic Commando type of stuff, I would be interested in it, right? Because as long as it has, like, if you give me, and I've said this in the past, if you give me a Destiny, but in Star Wars, if you give me a Destiny, but in Transformers, if you give me a Destiny, you know what I mean? Like in a IP that I like, I'll be all over that, right? I want that looter shooter type of feel, but in an IP that I love. So yeah, I would buy it if it is something that I'm interested in, and if it is Division and it is Clone Troopers, right? I'll buy Division again if it was Ghostbusters, right? Like I want that game. I want Ghostbusters in Division where you're running around with proton packs and shooting people around, right? I would take that game as well. So going from that Star Wars to the other Star Wars game that's been in talks about being rewritten, remade. We have
KOTOR.
rumor KOTOR. Sony dealt a major blow to Star Wars KOTOR 3 chances. A newly surfaced report claims that Sony dealt a major blow to KOTOR's chance in addition to revealing a new information about the troubled KOTOR 1 remake. So a newly surfaced industry rumors suggest that Sony dealt a major blow possibility. Let me go down to the third paragraph because that's usually where they YouTuber 100% Star Wars Now has suggested that the work on the game prior to the sudden development switch has actually progression much better than the previously thought, citing sources from Aspire. Now, his latest video published on May 23rd also presents a claim that KOTOR 3 was not only a possibility, but is definitely a part of Aspire's long-term plans for the series. Now, with the developer allegedly intending to start working on the after remaking the first 2 installments in the franchise, this all of a sudden fell apart in mid-2022 when Aspire is said to have presented a vertical slice of the game to Lucasfilm and Sony, with whom Embracer has negotiating console exclusive deal at the time. Now, Lucasfilm loved the demo, but Sony said it wasn't cinematic enough, as per the same source. So, who also mentioned several lead developers were fired in response to the feedback, and the later claim has already made the July of 2022 story from Bloomberg, which also broke the news that KOTOR remake had been indefinitely delayed. This turned the events of supposedly prompted a mass exodus of Aspire, with 100% of Star Wars reporting around 70 developers from the project's 200-strong team left the company in the aftermath of the studio's switch. Now, the video also mentions some previously unknown details about Aspire original plans for the game, including a claim that the KOTOR remake was aiming for delivered combat mechanics in the style of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and the developer would also reportedly planning gender swaps for some minor characters that wanted to greatly expand the game's quests. Now, with the notwithstanding, Aspire has also aiming to remain faithful to the original game to the point that wasn't looking to introduce any new gameplay mechanics. According to the same report, with the state fluxes now raising questions about whether KOTOR remake will ever see the light of day. I wonder, Sarge, I'm just making a jump here. Embracer Group was in charge of this. Embracer Group just had a deal fall through for $2 billion. Right?
That probably was their capital for doing the game.
You think that this was part of the deal with Sony, right? I don't know. I'm jumping to conclusions here, but it does sound like something that could have happened because it says Embracer CEO has no comment on the Star Wars KOTOR remake. Right?
See, I just think that I think that KOTOR falls into this little crevice that people don't really understand. If you look at KOTOR, right, when it was made, the year it was made, and the sequels that followed, right, KOTOR really is Mass Effect.
Yeah,
Mass Effect just made Mass Effect took KOTOR and made it better and gave it writing and characters, and that's what you ended up with. You ended up with this amazing trilogy. Right. So I think that if you were trying to go back and redo KOTOR, you couldn't just remaster it. You'd have to make another game. Like you'd have to do Knights of the Old Republic, but make it a better version of itself, like a Mass Effect would be. Because there's only 2 ways you can go when you're trying to tell a Star Wars story, right? The Mass Effect way, right? You set that whole game in the Star Wars universe. It's a cash cow, right? Or you have to remake Star Wars Online and you make it like ESO, and you redo that. You make an MMO for Star Wars again, but you don't cheapen it. You make it done well like ESO was done, with classes and things done proper. And then you could sell planets as expansions, just like you're selling regions of the map for ESO. Same thing. So you would be basically remaking Star Wars Online, right? That's what you would be doing. But for KOTOR to come back, you would have to have a team of writers, and you'd have to redo the game. You have to redo another game.
Yeah, real quick, just to let you guys know that KOTOR came out before Mass Effect, so Mass Effect or KOTOR wouldn't be the predecessor to Mass Effect. Mass Effect would be the predecessor to KOTOR. Just to make you guys aware.
Listen, those games, KOTOR was ahead of its time for the type of game it was trying to do. It wasn't a complete action game. It wasn't an MMO, right? It wasn't an action RPG because your guy moved around, but when combat started, it was turn-based, right? And then you let the game play and you could pause it. So you could like decide what you wanted your guys to do. So Mass Effect just did it better. Right. So if you're looking to if you're looking to make some money and you're trying to use the Star Wars IP now that EA doesn't have a chokehold on it, then I would put a team together and make another Star Wars game like Mass Effect. That's a win, right? It doesn't. You could say it's an open world game, but just because you say open world, you have to understand what kind of what's entailed in making an open world Star Wars game.
Yeah,
like you just can't say open world Star Wars game because what needs to go into a game like that would already be done and they'd be talking about it like it was coming out next week. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no way you could actually have a game like that on a shelf. Nobody's talking about it unless it's part of the games that have been made in the past and then let go, and then they're building upon that. Like the 1818 or was it 14? I'm sorry, 1414, right? And there was another one that that female director had walked away from, right? That she said was like 80% done or 90% done. I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name. The one that was working on the Star Wars game. So what we're looking at is you're looking at the opportunity to bring back IP that's now open, and with present day tech, I think it's a win, right? You could, if you made a bounty hunter game set with the Division engine, and you made another Star Wars action RPG that was based off of like Mass Effect, the way that Mass Effect was done, you'd have two winners right off the bat. You wouldn't have to worry about an open world Star Wars game. Do you know what kind of? Okay, so the level of which you're thinking about the Star Wars game, the open world Star Wars game, I have to relate it, and I'm sorry I'm doing this. I would have to relate it to what GTA 6 is doing, because that's the level. Because that's the level we're at now. Yes.
No.
That's the level we're at now. Yes.
I can't.
You're talking about an open world Star Wars game, but you want it to be like what? You want it to be like No Man's Sky? That kind of open world?
That would be pretty cool. If
what do you want it to do? Like, what do you want the Star Wars game to do? You have to give me epic things to do and keep me busy. So look at GTA 6, look at the size of it, and tell me if you're thinking an open world Star Wars game, and an open world Star Wars game is nothing like that.
Well, if you do an open world, you could do like an Assassin's Creed type of game, right? You're a bounty hunter, like you're Mando or Boba Fett, and you're doing bounty hunting missions, like that open world, right? That's not the level of GTA. That's still a pretty damn good open world type of game. You're taking the pinnacle of open world games of Grand Theft Auto.
No, I'm not taking the pinnacle. I'm taking about what they've shown us they can do over the last 8 years. And so if you've been working on a game for 8 years and it's an open world Star Wars game, I have higher expectations.
Well, no, they haven't been working on it for 8 years, though.
And Redfall. I'm sorry. Like, you have to be talking about games that you're trying to put on a pedestal here, that you're trying to make a move.
Well, you're going all over the place. You're going all over the place.
I'm not all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm not all over the
Star
place.
Wars game has only been in development since 2021, so it's not 8 years. Okay, so it's nowhere.
I said if you're working on a game for that long, they've had games already that they've canceled.
Sure,
games that were 5 years in and they canceled.
Right.
So you think you're gonna pull out an open world Star Wars game from when? When did they start working on it?
That's what I'm saying. The open world Star Wars game back in 2021 is when they started. So it's only been worked for 2 years.
Well,
right?
See you later.
The KOTOR that you're talking about, this is why I'm confused. We were talking about KOTOR, and you're going back to the open world Star Wars game, right?
I'm giving you options of what they could be doing right now. If you want a Star Wars game right now, you redo KOTOR, but you do it in a Mass Effect way instead of which is the better version.
I think if you're doing a Star Wars game, I think you can
do a remaster.
No, I look. I don't want a KOTOR remastered. When they announced this, I said I don't want them to touch it. Why change it? Just go play the fucking old game. Just go play it. Right? So graphically it's not the best.
But they need money. They need a game to come out. How do you get people to buy a game? Look, unless you do the member berries?
All you have to do is take the Star Wars IP. It sells. Just make a good game. Don't make a shit game of the IP. Don't use the IP just to sell your game. Make a great game with the IP that you have, and people will buy it. Look at Jedi Survivor. Look at Jedi Fallen Order. They're so fantastic games, right? Brand new character, original story. They did it right. Open world game, right? It's an open world game. You're walking around, you're doing all the stuff, right? The first one's a little bit more narrow, but the second one is an open world game. It's fantastic. Worked on for 4 years.
But I don't see a top of the line Star Wars game making an appearance anytime soon.
Oh no, they're pushing these fuckers out. They already signed the deal, and they're making a big every. This is why they have multiple studios working on games, right? One major studio, a big game, and a small game. This is what they're doing. Look, I'm calling it right now. I'm saying right now, Big Book of Bull. Here we go. Big Book of Bull. We get an announcement for Battlefield 3 or Battlefront 3. Battlefront 3 is getting announced this summer, okay? Because that's coming out next year as the smaller game from somebody, okay? There's going to be a major game, which could be this massive game, and then Battlefront 3 is getting announced. The teaser, trailer, something, right? It's coming. Because they need to work on a Star Wars game. It doesn't take 5 years to make, right? And we know Respawn's working on a first-person shooter game of Star Wars. Okay, so
and Battlefront 1 and 2 weren't that far apart.
No, they were 2 years apart.
That's a Call of Duty sound. That's a Call of Duty cycle.
So, all right, next story, because we have to move along because we have the showcases still to talk about, right? Let's talk about Sony. Sony now has multiple studios working on mobile games, right? So they've made the switch, Sarge. They're number one in the console market. They're saying that's not fair that Microsoft's running off with the cloud market. And just to let you guys know, there's also PlayStation confirms new handheld device, but there's a catch. Okay, so you have the mobile market. You have the cloud gaming market. They're putting 40% into cloud gaming, and they're also putting 60% of the budget into live service games. Okay, they're doing mobile gaming, and they also came out with the Q, which is a handheld device, Sarge, that I'm confused about. Okay, let me look at the trailer here for the Q while we sit here. Okay, this thing is a handheld device that you can only use on the Wi-Fi network that you have, and you have to have a PlayStation 5. Okay, I've been told by people that have a PlayStation that you can you can already do remote play on your cell phone with the Backbone, and you can play the games, on this stuff. But this is coming out. It looks like they literally stole a Switch, cut a controller in half, and glued it to the side of the Switch screen. Okay, because that's what it looks like. And you can only use this device if you have a PlayStation 5. Okay, I don't know who this is gatekeeping in their own ecosystem, right? So, what do you think of this, Sarge? What do you think of this handheld device that's coming out that you can only play on your Wi-Fi network and the games that you own on your library?
Yeah, but what? So it's just a PlayStation Mini?
No, it's not a PlayStation Mini. It's
so to help me out here. What is this?
Okay, we don't know how much it costs, right? But let me put this in perspective. If it's $200 to $300, if you're a person, let's say this is your predicament that you're in your house, you're playing your PlayStation, and mom needs to use a television or dad needs to use a TV, and you're on that television set. They're like, I need a TV. You're like, well, I'm playing games. They're like, sorry, and they shut your system off. And you're like, well, we already have one TV in the house. Okay, mom, dad, I need to buy this handheld device so when I can play, I don't need to bug the TV. It costs $250, $300. Again, I don't know the price. Okay, there are TV sets that you could buy for $150, $200 for a really good television set that you could just put in the other room and go play your video games on that room. So would you buy a handheld device that you could play on a smaller screen, or are you going to buy an extra television set? I'm confused. One, you don't need to own a PlayStation 5 to play in the other room. And two, you need a PlayStation 5 to use this device.
Okay, but what am I playing on this?
You're playing your games on your PlayStation 5 that you own and in the same network.
So basically, it's just I don't understand. It's a miniature PlayStation 5.
Sure.
I don't understand. Like I have to have a PlayStation 5 for this unit to actually work, and it only plays my games on PlayStation 5.
It only plays your games off the
PS and
on your. You have to own the games, and it has to be on your PlayStation 5 and then you can access the games on your PlayStation.
So it's
device.
a miniature. It's a way for me to play my PlayStation 5, just not in the same room.
Correct. Not on the subway, not at the doctor's office. It's got to be on the same Wi-Fi network.
On whose Wi-Fi network? My own?
Yes.
Or anybody's?
No.
Only my own.
At least this is what the
So,
reports
so
are.
I have to be.
Chat,
So I have to be
correct
in
me
the
if I'm
same
wrong.
house.
Yes, you have to be in the same house.
Then I'm really confused. Like, what are they smoking over there in Sony? I'm trying to understand what this is. Like, I'm either playing my PlayStation 5, or I'm playing this in the house, but I'm playing a PlayStation 5 on a smaller screen.
Chat,
why?
correct me if I'm wrong.
Why?
Can you
Why?
use this anywhere? Same Wi-Fi network as the console. Yes. Yes. Okay. So
I mean, I guess to them this is a wonderful idea.
Christopher Wright says it's for Japanese market because Sony is a Japanese company. Yeah, but
Okay.
I get that. But is the Japanese market look, they live in very smaller areas, smaller things.
Our houses are much smaller.
Right. I get it if they want to if this is a mobile device and they can go on the train as they're commuting. But it needs to be on the same Wi-Fi network. Right? I'm confused.
I'm trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure this out logically. I own a PS5. It's in my house.
And the only
I'm
way you
playing-
could buy
I'm
one of
playing on
these
my-
things is you have to
I'm
have a
playing-
PlayStation 5.
Right. So the only people that can buy this are people who already have a PlayStation.
Right. You have
5.
to have a PlayStation 5 just to buy this.
Okay, so I buy this.
Yep.
I bring it home.
Yes.
And I'm playing my PlayStation 5 games on my giant TV.
Correct.
And then someone says to me,
I want to use the television.
I want to play a game as well. Here, you can use my little mini thing and you could play other games on my PlayStation 5. So is this like the little brother thing? Like,
I don't know.
I'm playing my video games and your little brother wants to play, so you give your little brother the little version and he just goes and plays whatever games he wants?
It's a little weird.
I'm confused. I mean, I know somewhere it sounds like an amazing idea and it looks fantastic. It looks cool. But at the same time, I'm asking the questions, why?
Yeah. Gaming Fire says Lono had the same reaction to this. Well, great minds think alike. I'm confused what this is. Okay.
Right. Well, if it's a $300, listen, if it's $300, right? Then why not just spend $200 just get another PS5? We'll have two PS5s in the house. Why? I'm confused.
If it's $200, you can buy a nice monitor.
Okay, listen.
A nice monitor for less than that, and you can just move it to the other room.
If Microsoft allows you to play your Xbox games on your phone with a controller anywhere in the fucking world,
you could do that with PlayStation Now.
And then Sony says, hold my beer. We're going to do the same thing, except it can only work in your house and only if you have a PS5.
You can play right now remotely on your cell phone with the backbone. $99. You put your phone to it, and you can play your PlayStation games on that device right now. You don't even need this device, and you can play that anywhere.
Now I'm really confused. Did someone just throw a monkey wrench into this? So if I can play my PlayStation 5 games now on another device, then why do I need this?
Apparently, I'm assuming that because if you're a Sony fanboy, right, you need this because it's Sony.
Okay,
that's it, right?
So wait, so I'm not part of the Sony ecosystem, so I need to understand this. So is there currently a way for me to use my cell phone if I have PlayStation account and I can play PlayStation games on my phone?
Yes, you can remote play on your cell phone from your PlayStation.
As long as I own the games, or I'm on PS Now and I have those games to play.
Yes, right now.
Okay, so I can do that right now.
Correct.
Okay, so then there's no reason for this other thing.
Exactly. It makes no freaking sense.
I don't understand.
Like the amount of people that would buy this. Now think about this, Sarge. To add this to the equation, PSVR 2, right?
I need aspirin anytime Sony makes
the
something
virtual
new.
headset is a nice add-on to your PlayStation 5. It's competing against other headsets that you don't need to buy anything. The Quest, you can literally just go buy the headset and start playing games on your Quest. You don't need to hook it up to your computer. You don't need to just hook it up and start playing. With the PlayStation VR 2, you need to have a PlayStation 5. So you need $500 for the PlayStation 5. An additional, chat, am I correct? Another $500 for the PlayStation VR 2, right? And then if you want this system, it's an additional potentially $200 to $300. We don't know the price of it, right? It's just very, and then God knows how much the earbuds are that
Oh, that's a $1.50 easy.
right? It's just very strange to me that the ecosystem of Sony, that they're drinking the Kool-Aid and they're like, yeah, we need this because I need it, right? Lorker says that it's bad enough when the controller stick drifts. What the fuck are you gonna do when the console now stick drifts, right? Right, you just the whole thing. You just got it's just disposable. You just got to get another controller.
But miraculously, the controller with the screen attached to it that lasts 5 years without drift. But your controller only lasts 18 months without drift. Somehow, they just don't know how.
I don't understand it. I don't understand where Sony's going with this. And then they're also doing mobile, right? So they're doing a mobile gaming.
It's almost like an Apple move, right? They're inventing a device that they really don't need because it's just got our name on it, right? That's Apple.
Yeah, so Sony confirmed in a recent presentation that they're already coming up with mobile strategy that will also entail bringing some of the company's most popular properties to portable platform. So obviously, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, all that stuff. And
because I want to do God of War, but I want them to wait to swing an axe for 3 hours. Yeah. That's going to be awesome.
So the chart included a presentation showing that Sony expects mobile games to make up 5% of the portfolio in 2023, with the number of growing to 10% by 2025. And this is slightly less than the chart released in August 2022, which is listed targeted 20% of mobile games by 2025. With Sony acquired Savage Game Studios and announced the plans to expand into mobile. Either way, this means that there would be more mobile game announcements coming this year. So that's for their mobile thing. I have one more thing about Sony. Let me find where it is. Marathon. There's one more thing with PlayStation.
So you think the I don't want to throw a hand grenade yet. Go ahead.
It says PlayStation CEO teases aggressive cloud gaming plans as well. All right, so where is it? They mentioned before that cloud gaming is implications for the industry as a whole having to become growing topics over the past few months, especially when it comes to PlayStation's competitor Xbox. In April, the UK Competition and Markets Authority blocked Microsoft's plans to acquisition for Activision Blizzard due to the concerns about Microsoft's strong foothold in the cloud gaming market, right? This sounds very fishy, Sarge, because they didn't have a mobile market. They didn't have cloud gaming market. They didn't have any of this stuff, right? Jim Ryan's on record as saying, all I want to do is block your deal. Okay. So then we get this story that just broke. Okay. That just broke where the CMA. Okay. So the CMA, the UK regulator, known for the CMA, blocked Activision merged with Xbox. Now, despite the protests from Microsoft's larger competitors, the vast majority of the gaming industry have been supported. Like the China just went through. Like they're okay with the deal. Japan's okay with the deal. Everybody's okay with this deal except Sony. So today, Florian Moller, who is a prominent patent lawyer following the case, discovered that the UK regulator's senior director used to work for the firm that is actively representing Sony, potentially highlighting a conflict of interest and degradation of impartiality. Okay, Mueller has then since claimed and said that senior director was the central voice in getting the Activision Blizzard King deal blocked. Okay, so this could be really bad, a bad look, right? Now, I know people are saying like Microsoft is shitty because they buy exclusives and they're trying to become part of the market, and Sony's innocent in this whole thing. But leading up to this, they said Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty. In an article and in person, he said, all I want to do is block your deal. Okay. And then we find out if this is true. Okay. I'm not going to say it's true yet, but if this is true and they have a guy on the inside that used to work for Sony, and he's the guy who was vocal and said, we need to block this because he worked for Sony and he also worked for Google at some point, right? If there's any evidence that he had any connection and talks to Jim Ryan or anybody that worked for Sony to block this deal, this is going to be very bad. Right?
I don't think it is though, because it's very hard to prove that kind of stuff. It's just to them, they'll just say it's coincidental, and that was so many years ago. Like they'll say it's like 10 years ago he worked for Sony. Like, look, we all know it's always sketchy when you have a connection like that. Just like it's sketchy that Nancy Pelosi buys a bunch of stock right before it goes up. Like it's the same kind of shit, right? You know she's crooked, but you can't prove it, right? They don't want to prove it. So some guy who worked for Sony before is now in charge of the CMA, and then he's the guy that starts off the ruckus about blocking the merger. I mean, sure, you can say it right away because you yourself know he worked for the company, but it's not a crime because you can't connect it that it's done maliciously, right? They go by their own rules on why they want to block a deal, and so they just use the rules to justify why he blocked.
Right.
It, it's it, it's always sketchy when it's something like this is found out. What's even more sketchy is that you don't find out until almost a year later that this stuff was going on. So for me, when you have things like this happening, I more or less I blame the media because it's their job to cover all the bases, dot the I's, cross the T's, and when shit happens and you're talking about news, you know all the facts of the case. You know what's going on.
Right.
So you would think if anyone was looking to, I don't know, use some leverage on getting a deal to go through or not, you would find out if anybody on the committee worked for one of these other companies. That would be like standard. Just like when I hire somebody, you look to see if he's a criminal, or you look to see if he worked for a competitor in the recent 5 years or not. Like, you want to know these things. Same deal.
Right.
Same deal.
Panama says they can't prove it if they're phishing. I mean, they could prove it. It would take longer, and is it worth it? Not really, because the deal's gonna go through anyway, regardless of it. But it is interesting that that it comes across as, well, the guy used. And look, I said this in the very beginning when it goes. I said they're gonna grease the palms of the people anyway. This is how business and corporations work. If I go to school with someone in college and that person becomes a politician or a head of a company, and then I need a job for my son or daughter or something, I'm like, call them up, I'm like, hey buddy, right? And then that person gets the job. I mean, that's just the benefits of knowing people, right?
Yeah, being connected. Yeah,
right,
that's how that works.
Right. That's why people in politics always go to Harvard and Yale, and they all know each other because they run in the same circles, type of stuff, right? So it is kind of funny when you find out that someone of the that was the lead blocking the deal happened to work for the actual company that they're blocking the deal for. It looks kind of fishy.
It's at this point, it's business as usual.
Right. Hey, it is just normal business as usual. Right.
Business as usual.
So, okay. I want to talk about Marathon real fast. Bungie comes out with Marathon. Marathon was a game that they first originally did back in 1994, I believe, and there's 3 of them. It was a trilogy. It was a first-person shooter game, but it was a campaign. Bungie has announced that but it was on Apple. It was on the Apple operating system. So they're bringing back Marathon, but Marathon now is an extraction shooter. Now, the extraction shooter, Sarge, is getting more and more crowded every single day between these multiplayer games, right? The extraction shooter right now, we have Hitman Freelancer, right? We have the Hunt Showdown. We have Escape from Tarkov. We have the DMZ. We have, I think it's Cash Grab or Fair Game or whatever the hell that game was. I think that's another extraction type of game. Unless that's just I think it's an extraction game.
Oh, God, I remember this.
And
now.
And then you have Marathon now. What do you think about this, Sarge?
Are they doing a remake? What are they doing?
No, they've completely changed it from a single-player game to an extraction shooter, a team-based extraction shooter.
So they're basically just reusing IP.
They're using their IP that they own.
Yes.
Now that Sony owns them, Sony was like, "Hey, we need some live service games here." And Destiny's like, "I got an idea. We have this brand that we did before. We can repurpose it as a extraction shooter type of game to compete." And they're like, "Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it." Right, type of thing.
Now, would that be on mobile?
I'm sure it would be on mobile, right? Because Sony is. This is why I do all these stories, Sarge. So they're in the mobile market now, right? Sony's in the mobile market.
Well, I'm thinking that as a 1996 game like that redone could probably run on a phone pretty
well,
easily.
No, they're not redoing that game. It's an all new branched out first person.
I know they're using an IP, but I'm saying that type of game could what it entails could run on a phone.
Sure, I'm assuming that Destiny, because they are doing mobile games as well, or I should say Bungie's doing, and Sony's investing in live service. They're investing in mobile. They're investing in cloud gaming. And I'm sure that this goes into all of those.
I can't believe they're bringing back Marathon. I just laugh. I laugh. You always know when they're looking at their books and they're looking about 2 or 3 years out, and they realize they don't have any income streams coming in from that far out, and so they scramble and they ask themselves what they can do And so reusing old IP, right up there. Especially a game that everyone that we're talking to in the chat right now, only 3 people know what the fuck we're talking about.
Right. So one more Sony, and then we're going to talk about the PlayStation event real fast, okay? Because we don't need to go over in depth. I just want to get your thoughts on it. So there was a chart that they put out, all these numbers and stuff, and Sony, and they're using this as information for investors and whatnot. And what they put out here is this chart right here, and we'll go into it. It says, this guy, Steven Toledo, says, not sure if I believe the Sony chart. Brand B has had a lot of momentum in recent years, and it shows here on the chart. If you guys can't see this this chart, let me bring it up so you guys can see. It shows that obviously blue is PlayStation, right? Obviously PlayStation is blue, and red is Switch, and green is Xbox.
So the Xbox is the crusty bottom,
yeah,
and Nintendo is the creamy filling.
What they're showing is in the quarter of this time, they're saying that the movement of the Switches is not right. Like, these numbers are fudged. Okay, this is what they're saying, because the Switch is now has surpassed the PlayStation, I believe 4 as the most selling console, right? Like it surpassed them, and yet these numbers don't show the Switch actual sales going up, and also it doesn't show that because this is the strongest gaming brand. Okay. Meanwhile, Zelda just sold 10 million copies in 3 days. Pokemon Scarlet Violet also sold 10 million copies in 3 days. There's no bump here in any way, shape, or form. Meanwhile, PlayStation looks like it's going through the roof here. Okay. So they're saying there's a little sussed here from these numbers. Now, this is a third-party site doing these numbers and type of stuff, but they're making their numbers look a little better than what Microsoft or I'm sorry, what Nintendo's doing. It says the charts claim that Nintendo's brand strength has basically stayed the same since 2018, and this seems very unlikely in the time frame because the Nintendo Switch shipped enough units and comfortably become one of the best-selling video game consoles of all time. Multiple Nintendo published games broke sales records, and perhaps most significantly, Animal Crossing New Horizons exploded popularity. New Horizons came out just during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was shutting down the world, and not only did it hit Nintendo's fans, but it also became the most popular culture phenomenon in its own right. With sales fueled by casual fans who needed something to entertain themselves during the pandemic, Animal Crossing New Horizons is also a system seller, became the Nintendo's best-selling video game of all time, even dethroning the original Pokemon games in Japan 26 years after they launched. In the same window, PlayStation hadn't even given the PlayStation 5 its big reveal yet, let alone launched it. It also would be interesting to see how far ahead did Sony think that the PlayStation brand is compared to Nintendo right now. Hot off the heels of record-breaking Pokemon Scarlet, Violet, massive box office success, and Super Mario Bros. Movie, the nearest universal acclaim currently being enjoyed is Legend of Zelda's Tears of the Kingdom. Regardless, the fans should take this chart with a grain of salt. While there's no denying that the PlayStation is the industry leader, the idea that Nintendo's brand strength has remained more than just static since 2018 is laughable, right? So what do you think, Sarge? Do you think they're fudging the numbers just to make themselves look better?
I mean, there used to be a body that oversaw these kind of things. It used to be Forbes. Forbes would keep track of this kind of thing a lot, but a lot of times the gaming market kind of gets skewed, so they're not under the same eye as other businesses. It's a little strange how this works, but because it's a console they're watching over, it's not like the actual business.
No, talk about the brand. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about the Nintendo brand.
No, I know, but it's hard. It's hard for you to justify whether or not you're fudging numbers. Look at that slide you just gave me. Read the top. Right. This
the strongest gaming brand.
Right, strongest gaming brand. Well, what do you mean by strongest?
Mario, Zelda, Pokemon.
No, but what do you mean by strongest though? Are you meaning strongest is in sales? Do you mean strongest is in who can bench the most?
It says leading category in momentum.
Can bench the most?
No, it says leading category in momentum.
In momentum, based on what prior year's numbers. There's so much verbiage I can fuck around with when they do this kind of thing. It's almost annoying.
I think the point though is if the momentum of the brand and the Nintendo Switch just surpassed one of the top selling PlayStation systems of all time, and yet that number is just like this.
It's just flat. Well,
It's just a little weird.
But based on sales numbers, that the Switch has sold more units than PlayStations have.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, but
that's what they're saying. That the number hasn't moved.
Just by the sales, just by those numbers alone, would dictate that graph would be incorrect. But once again, you can make a graph look like anything you want.
Well, they're also using the name that they want to use as far as to make their graph look.
I know, man.
Credible.
Listen, I get it, but at the same time, I that's why I go by either Forbes or I go by I forget what the other body is that you trust what they're looking at, because those guys are the ones that dictate who's investing in what companies, which companies are more solvent. Like these are all important factors. When they just throw up a graph and say that they just fudging the numbers, this is just some kind of puff piece that some writer was trying to do because he stayed up late drinking Friday night and didn't do his homework before Monday morning.
Well, it's funny.
So this is a story he decided to pick.
Well, Krebsy is also saying, I don't understand how the Nintendo wouldn't jump given the Mario movie, right? It's the #1 best video game movie of all time. It passed $1 billion, yet that chart hasn't moved. Right? All right. Going to the PlayStation Showcase, Sarge. What did you think overall? I know you didn't watch it live. You saw
it live.
Yeah. So you watched it after the fact. What did you think overall of the production of what it was? Not based on the games or anything, just how they showed it off. What do you think of that?
Well, it was done better. It was just game after game. You're talking about games. It's just game after game. We're talking about them. We're moving on. That's fine. That's the way it should be, because otherwise you bore people. I don't like the term showcase, because when you tell me showcase, what you're doing is you're focusing on maybe 3 or 4 of the top products that you have, and then you are going in depth about them. You talk about them. You tell them what's inside the game, what the game's about. You show me gameplay. You tell us about how the character, what the character can do in the game. The can't even speak tonight, but it didn't do any of that. You're basically just talking about some games that were possibly maybe coming out whenever. Like I don't know what that's I don't know what that was supposed to be. Like, if you were trying to do it to try to hype me up, you weren't hyping me. You were just letting me know that you guys were working on games, which I know you're working on games because you're a gaming company. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. I thought that the majority of the games that were there were okay. There was nothing like really sticking out. Like Spider-Man, of course, a couple of them look interesting, but it's not like this, hey guys, guess what's going on? It's time for the Summer Game Bash, and like this is what it is. Like when you try to portray it like that, it's supposed to be an actual showcase. Like you would, like for instance, you would show me Spider-Man, tell me what the game's about, show me gameplay, and then interview a couple of developers and tell us how they made it. Like that's a showcase.
Yeah, here's some people that are talking about on Twitter, right? They said, "Hey, I can copy your homework." They're talking about what's it called? Foam Stars with Splatoon, right? And then also the handheld device to the Wii U. Another person says, my biggest takeaway after the PlayStation Showcase was I don't really know anything more about PlayStation first-party lineup now that I did before the show, right? And that's my biggest concern.
That's why it's not called a showcase.
Right. I thought as a PlayStation Showcase that you would show PlayStation majority games. Okay, they showed 12 games that one we already knew about, a couple of them, and they're also on Xbox as well, right? So I thought that was kind of weird because you would use Keighley Fest to show your game off, not PlayStation. I thought for sure, and again, I had no expectations going in. Right, I thought maybe we'd get a teaser of Ghost of Tsushima 2 or not the Uncharted, the Last of Us multiplayer thing that they were supposed to do.
That was kind of disappointing. Even if you didn't show anything about it, you should have just talked about it.
Talked about it. We have other games coming in.
You should have said that we're actually working on it.
Yeah,
like say something.
Something.
Yeah,
right.
Wasn't that multiplayer thing like really looking forward to? Like, wasn't that like one of the talking points for like the past year?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I mean, Jeff Keighley took a poll, and over 50% of the people gave it a C or D rating. Now, obviously, people can look at that and go, well, those are
Average.
just Xbox fans, right?
That's just average.
But
C or D is average.
I thought the show was decent. I thought it was a B, right? What they showed and the games that they showed. But overall, I was just like, I thought they were going for the killing blow. I thought they haven't had one of these shows in 2 years. They didn't have it last year.
You thought they were trying to stomp on Xbox.
Right. I thought they were going to come out and be like, look, they're down and out. Okay. But here's my thought process now.
And this is what we got. Boom, boom, boom,
Right.
boom.
I thought they were going to come out. They were blocking the deal. They were down on the dirt. Redfall came out. Xbox is in the dirt. Sony, I think, shows that they are a Japanese company by this alone. They have respect and honor. Okay? And while Xbox...
They didn't hit them when they were down.
Yes. Xbox was face down on the ground. They stood over them, and instead of killing them, they went, why don't you get back up? Because they need, and I know people will take this out of context, but PlayStation needs Xbox to not fold. They need them to succeed, because then how are you first place if there's nobody to go against? Right? You see what I'm saying? So I think that I don't think they sandbagged in any way, shape, or form by any means. But I feel like, whoa, we're way ahead. Let's not over showboater stuff. Now, people are saying there could be another show down the road in like September, August. I don't believe that. I don't. I mean, there's going to be a state of play, but I don't think they're holding back. I don't.
If you got nothing to show, if you have nothing to show or talk about, there's no reason to do a show. That's it. You don't need to do a show. When you do a showcase, what it really means is, like, you have a bunch of games that are all on time, and they're going to come out around the same time frame, like a 6-month period. They're going to have boom, 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 boom. And then you're doing a showcase about these games that are done, finished, ready to go, first-party titles, the third-party title, whatever, and here they are. Like, that's a showcase. If you kind of sort of maybe know when something kind of sort of will come out, like, and they show me some pictures, like a couple of those games, I looked at it, I'm like, what year is it?
Yeah.
Like, I was looking at some of those games, and I'm like, is that a mobile game? Are they lying? Are they messing with me right now? The one that kind of looked like Splatoon, I'm like, who decided the color palette on that? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, if I'm playing on a television, I'm gonna go blind. Was that game like specifically for small children? It had to be, right?
It's just weird. So some of the games I thought were really cool was the Plucky Squire, I think it was called. It was that 2D, 3D little kid that's running around. It almost looked like a Zelda type of game. I thought that was very original, and I was like, that could be like my son's Zelda. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could be a new IP that he grows up with and is like, dude, I can't wait to play the Plucky Squire 3 or 13 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, when I was a kid, I played that game. I like that game. I thought the what was it called? Drop Helldivers, I think it was called. Right? That used to be an isometric type of game, I was told. I didn't even know what the game was because I saw Helldivers 2. I was like, what is that? That's Starship Troopers, basically. It looked interesting. There was games that looked interesting, but nothing besides Spider-Man like sold me. And I already knew Spider-Man was coming out, and I know I have to buy a PlayStation because I want to play Spider-Man, right? Or I wait for it to come on PC. Okay? But nothing that they showed other than that was like, oh, dude, I gotta get a PlayStation. Now, I said this earlier. If Xbox does the exact same thing, and they don't give me a reason, like if I had a PlayStation and I didn't own an Xbox,
you already know there's no reason.
Why would I buy an Xbox? And right now I have an Xbox, and I'm looking at a PlayStation, going, do I need to buy a PlayStation for this one Spider-Man game? I mean, for me, yes, but for the majority of the population, probably not.
I'll tell you what. I'll give final judgment on this alleged showcase after I see what Keighley does. Once I see what Keighley does this year, to see what he's put together, then I'll judge this one, because you're not really saying much. Like, I don't need you to tell me something every 3 months. I need you to be confident in the product that you're making, and then advertise it as you believe in it. You know, the old days were when someone talked about their video game, that was like their life. Like, they spent like 6 years. If you ever watch, I know a lot of people don't watch the credits, but if you watch the credits for some of these blockbuster games, you'll notice at the end, there's always people thanking their families because they hate them.
Been there, yeah. They've been there for so long.
because their family doesn't see them. Like one guy said that I'm sorry I missed my daughter's christening. I was like, I'm reading some of the stuff on the credits. I'm like, my God, like, do you guys ever go home? Does anyone ever leave the office? You guys just strapped to a desk? Like, I don't like. It's sad. If you read some of the thank yous on there, they're like, sorry you missed the fishing trip. I'm like, what? You can't just say thank you. Like, why to have all this crazy stuff at the end of the credits? But like, that's what it is. 24/7. They're in these offices making video games. Like, I almost picture it like they're chained to desks. Like, they come in, they lock them up, and they're sitting there typing. And they're like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Not till 2:00. Shut up and get back to work. Okay. Like that's what it seems like when you read the credits at the end of some of these blockbuster games. Then you think to yourself, okay, if that's what they did over the last 5 years, what is he doing right now? Like, is he on vacation? Did they get their final paycheck and decided he was going to leave this job and go someplace else,
Right.
where you can actually see his daughter grow up? Like, it's almost like a little soap opera.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of hours. I mean, I get it. I was in the film industry. It's the same type of stuff. Like, when you're working, you're working, and when you're done, then you're on
the next thing,
next project. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always the next project.
So overall, I think, what would you rate it? Earlier we took a poll, Sarge, and the majority of our poll was
it's average.
C. Yeah, C.
It's average.
It's average.
It's average. It's average. You have to listen. Marketing video games isn't hard, right? If you know the product is good, all you got to do is tell the truth about the product, and the game will speak for itself. And then the fanboys will do word of mouth and tell their friends to check out the game. That's how it always was. But if you're terrified of the game because you know you fucked it up so badly, and then you hide it, and then you don't send out review copies, and then you don't send out reviews, and then you pay the people that are going to review the game on the side, like all this underhanded bullshit that they do, like, and you want me to be hyped about your game? I don't give a shit about your game, right? I already know you didn't care about your game.
So here's Keely's thing. He has a bigger vote poll of 158,000, almost 150 or 59,000 people took the thing. The final results were 14.4% said it was an A overall. I voted for a B. It was 30.8% for B. C won it out with 33.5%, and D and below was 21.4%. Now,
what's the little symbol next to the B?
That's me that I voted there. I voted for B. Yeah. So the obviously you can look at and go, everyone that's an A is a fanboy, like a super fanboy. So you knock that out, and then D and below is Xbox fans that just hate Sony. So those are people that voted for that.
Average.
But then you get the average, and it's right in the middle. It's just mid 30.8 and 33.5. That's what it is, right? I think these people are review bombing, Sarge. Review bombing voting. Yeah. I look. I think it was an okay show. I think PlayStation could have come out with more PlayStation stuff overall, but it is what it is, right? So. And then what made me laugh, people thought, like, Grand Theft Auto was going to be there, and I was like, yeah. No. All right, so let's go to Q&A, right? Q&A. If you guys have questions, you can submit it. We're going to go over Q&A. If you guys are members, I'll read those before. The people that are non-members is more of a perk, guys, but we'll take questions from everybody. That's part of it. So the first question comes from Krebsy Gaming. He says, do we think Kaplan will be making an Overwatch 2 should have been with this new studio? Wait, do we think Kaplan would be making what Overwatch 2 should have been? So are you asking, Krebsy, do you think, are they making a game like Overwatch, but in his vision of what Overwatch should be? Is that what you're asking? You know about that, and then
yeah, the answer is probably yes. Kaplan wants to make his own game. He wasn't allowed to.
Right, but with the new studio, do you think he's making an Overwatch game?
Well, if you have your own studio and you're deciding what to do, he'll do whatever he wants to do. So if he wants to make a game like that, I would put it right in Activision's face.
Yeah,
I would make a game exactly like Overwatch, call it something else, and then label everything in it that it was supposed to be an Overwatch in his game and do it on purpose.
I mean, I could see it. I mean, I could see him doing it. Like, it all depends on what type of person he is. I mean, obviously, it seems like he has a good head on his shoulders because he got out of the company. He threw away 19 years with the company because he believed in something. Away. Well, no, but what I'm saying is, yeah, we'll make an Overwatch clone or something. Yeah, I think he might because he knows what that is. So if you know what it is and you want to make it, You do it pretty fast.
You're
and
an
then make it
artist.
better,
You're an
right?
artist. You have a vision. You put a team together. You tell them what the vision is. They all agree with you. You make the game and you see if it sells. That's the old way of video
Well,
games.
unless he's like, you know what, I'm tired of that kind of game. I want to make something different, which is also a
But
possibility.
he never got to make the game. He's like, you can't be tired of something you never got a chance to make. You had a dream board and someone came over and cut it into pieces and told you do something else.
Well, maybe he'll make an MMO because Overwatch was tight.
Don't get
Well,
crazy.
it was supposed to be an MMO.
I'm aware, but you know how complex it gets. You know how complex it gets.
Next question is from Travis. He says, my question is for both of you. But do you think Sony's showcase format is how it should be done moving forward? No developer talks, promising lies, just here's the game, speaks for us. Yeah, I mean,
that's usually how it's supposed to go. I think the best way to do it is just to do it in categories. You do first-person shooters, and this is what's coming out. You do RPGs, and this is what's coming out. You do simulation games, and this is what's coming out. And then every so often you rotate them. Like you don't know which ones we're talking about. Just easy, boom, boom, boom. And then let's say if you do like 3 or 4 games in each category, and then the one's like really close to being done, then you have that one come out. You show game footage of it. You have the developers come out and talk about it. Boom, 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 and on to the next thing. If the game's too far out, you just talk about it and you move on.
I would do it the way I would do it is I would come out with a big game first. AAA game, you blow the doors off right off the way, starting point, and then you back it off. You back it off and you start showing indie games, and then you show some AA games, and you go to AAA games, no matter what it is. I don't agree with Sarge like all first-person shooters or anything like that. You kind of get, oh, okay, this looks the same. You don't want that. If it's a independent first-person shooter,
anyway.
no, I know,
but
if it's
flying to people,
yeah, but if it's a small independent company compared to a big AAA title, ramp it up as you go.
Yeah, but do you think if I showed you 3 first-person shooters and 2 of them looked similar, if I separated by putting it one before the show and one near the end of the show, that helps people think it's 2 separate games?
It does.
Get the fuck out of here.
It does. If you put 2 simultaneous games that look similar to each other, you wouldn't know when it ends and what starts.
Monkeys with cell phones, and I'm giving them benefit of the doubt. Most people are just monkeys with cell phones, but I'm giving you benefit of the doubt, right? Put all the categories together. That way you know if you missed it or not. If they did the first-person shooters already, and you ask somebody, hey, did they do first-person shooter already? Your buddy goes, yeah, they did it already. Oh, cool, I'll catch it later.
I agree with your categories. I just don't think genres. I think it should be studio size. Like, it should be budget-wise. Independent, AA, AAA.
You'll never know that. You'll never know the budget.
You will by just looking at what they're showing. You'd be like, oh, yeah, this is... Like, you're not showing...
That went over real well with Redfall.
Right? I don't think you should show.
Some AAA game.
I don't think you should show Plucky Squire next to like God of War. I don't. I don't think you should show those type of games next to each other. I think you should. When you're watching it, you're building up the show. You're like, oh man, it's building up. What are they going to show us next? Right? I don't know. That's the way I would do it. Next question. Travis says, going to comment on something you said earlier today. You said, why did they show so much third party? You may not care, but some people do, and Sony wants you to know that you can play it on the best systems. That's fine. It's called a Sony PlayStation Showcase. You obviously know those games are going to be on PlayStation, and they can announce those down the road because Game Fest, Keighley Game Fest, is down the 2 weeks from now. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, it's on PlayStation. Yeah, it's on Xbox. They don't need to announce this is on PlayStation. No, PlayStation Showcase should show PlayStation games and go, if you're a PlayStation fan, these are games that are on our system, right? You don't need the third-party games. They're going to be advertised anyway down the road. Show me your shit. Show me what you got, right? Why am I buying your PlayStation, right? Is it for Battlefield, the next Battlefield? Well, I can play Battlefield anywhere. PC, Xbox, PlayStation, I can buy it anywhere. It doesn't matter, right? Avium, I can buy that and play it anywhere. But Sony, I want to know what you have in the pipeline. Let me know why I should spend $500 on your system besides Spider-Man 2. Right?
Well, I just heard they come out with this cool thing with a screen with some controllers attached to it that you can play your PlayStation 5 games on.
Yeah, in the other room. Yeah.
I could. That sounds cool. I should probably get that.
Next question comes from well, actually, I guess you should answer that, Sarge. Do you think they should show more third-party games because people want to play the best system and they want to know those third-party games are on that system?
It's not about third party or first party. It's just that if it's on your PlayStation. If it's only on your PlayStation, if it's a PlayStation showcase, then you show me the games that are only on PlayStation because you're trying to promote the system,
Exactly.
our ecosystem. Yeah.
All right. Travis, the last question says, quick, Sarge, pitch me a way to make Kathleen Kennedy disappear look like an accident. You need to stop threatening people on the internet if it's a joke or not.
He's not threatening anybody.
Travis, he said killer earlier in chat.
Well, he said Kriller. It's like a dance move.
Oh, he said Kriller? No.
Kriller. Yeah. I don't know if she knows that move though.
And the last question.
I think Iger's setting up for a nice fall though. I think he's trying to make the stockholders hate her enough to when her contract comes out that they don't renew. I think it's basically what's trying to say.
Right, because
I think that's the goal. I think that you releasing Indiana Jones 5 that early to let that many people see it, it means everyone has to point the finger at her, and then he just steps back and goes, "I don't know, I didn't make the movie."
Right.
That's
another movie that's gonna bomb. We'll talk about that, I guess, later. The last question. Krebsy Gaming says, given the recent news about Overwatch, does it make you concerned about Diablo given the launches in 1.5 weeks? Yes. Yes, 100%, Krebsy. I look at it and go, even though I want Diablo, I played Diablo, I had fun with Diablo, I look at this and go, is Diablo going to be like Overwatch? Are they going to fuck it up? Are they going to fumble the baton right at the finish line? Okay, going over. And for me, yeah, it's a concern. I'm going into it going, yeah, I'm going to buy the game, and then I'm going to regret it because they're going to do something stupid down the line, right? They're technically already doing it. The lights are on them right now, right? We know that the game, they don't have the seasons when the game starts. So something's going on there, right? They're doing something there. The other boot's gonna fall. Is that does it drop? Okay.
Well, it could be a boot now, but considering the state of the world, I think it would probably called a croc. I think the other croc is going to drop.
The other croc's going to drop. Yeah. I'm concerned. I know, Sarge. What's your answer? I know you're not buying the game, but would you be concerned?
Listen, I'm sure Diablo 4 is going to do really well. It seems like they have a good skeleton for the game. It's got a good play. The graphics are nice. It's good gameplay. I just think that the long-term ramifications of what the game actually is, the structure of the whole having to have so many characters and how much time you have to spend in playing the game to get the most out of it, it's a time sink.
Right.
And I know that the diehard people that have the time to play Diablo will play Diablo. But at the same time, I look at this overall as all the games together. So most games now are not about you buying it, playing it, and putting it down. In order for them to make the money that they want to make, the games that they have now are all about live service. Buy the game and play the game for hours and hours on end because you keep putting money into the system. But if that's the case and you have multiple games, and I mean multiple games that are all doing the same thing, you don't have the time to dedicate to for those markets to establish themselves. So you'll have these small groups, and I know you want to use the 20 or 80-20 rule in this instance. I'll agree to a point, but if all games are doing the same thing, you don't have the numbers of people that want to invest in your game anymore because they realize how much time they need to put in to get out of it. Right. You would rather just pay their $15 for Game Pass or PlayStation Now, or maybe buy 2 or 3 smaller titles. But if all the games you love are all time sinks, then which ones do you play? Because you can't play them all.
Right. My problem is I already know what I'm doing with Diablo. Diablo's gonna come out. I'm gonna no life it. I'm gonna play through the campaign, and then I'll visit it for one season, and then I'll probably put it down because I'm not gonna play 41 characters over the next couple of years and every season and make a new character. I'm not going to do it. I know they're going to change it halfway through.
Well, no, they'll change it when they realize population levels go down.
Well, the populations will go down 100%. 100%.
I mean, listen, how many MMOs do you play?
How many do I want to play, or how many do I play?
I use that as a basis because those are the original time sinks. An MMO is a time sink, right?
Yeah.
So how many MMOs did you play? Like during my heyday, I think I was playing
like 3.
2, sometimes 3
Yeah.
throughout the year.
I was playing like
and
3.
that was insane. Like,
but that's like casually playing all 3 of them. Like hardcore, when I was playing Star Wars Galaxies, I was playing 1. When I was playing Evercrack, okay, that was 1. Like when I was hardcore into it.
Oh, Evercrack was so good.
Right? Ultima Online, I played 1. Right? But there was like other MMOs that came in and you only could play and dabble in it.
It's first of all, a normal I can't say normal anymore. A new to gaming person who likes games like Diablo, and someone showed you that skill tree, you would lose your mind.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like the even one from Pillars of Eternity, same thing. Like the skill tree, like listen, I get you're trying to make things cool and you're trying to build a character up, but you could just as easily give me a page with words of skills and just say which ones I could pick, and not make it this rat maze of things where I decide if I go to the left and then, oh my god, I can't get the 10% dagger build if I don't go to the right. Like I don't need to have all that. Like I just want to level up my character, pick some skills, see how it goes out, and at the end, when I have enough gold to respec, I just spend the gold and I respec and I pick a different. I pick a different day. Like I don't need to have all that crazy shit. Those hieroglyphics, like I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. Like what are you doing? Like do you need all that to show me that your character's doing a 15% more damage to fucking orcs? Like do I need that? It's just fucking stupid. I don't care.
That's the worst.
And not to mention, I got to do that 40. If I was hardcore, I got to do that 42 times going up and down the skill trees. You know what? GTFO, man. I don't care.
Yeah, I hate when you play MMOs and you do something that's like, you got a 0.002% increase, and you're like,
Like they make it like it's a big deal. Like I have the same problem when I do Division. Like I'm specking out stuff and I'm like, oh my god, 0.2%. Oh. That sounds amazing. Like
if I put another 6 hours in,
you're right. If you fire the gun enough, you can see the number change. Like, all right, so a little 10% here, 20% there. But you can min max. I get it. I get the whole pride of building your character. Don't think I don't know. It's just that the way they do it now, it's overdone for the sake of being overdone. Like I don't need to have all that stuff. Right? No, nobody in their right mind is going to level up their character like level 50 or 60, and then actively want to change to a different character every season.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm sure people will do it because they're not married with children and they don't have a job, so they can play as much Diablo 4 as they want. Right. Amazing for you. I remember those days. But like a normal person's not doing 42 characters. You're out of your mind.
Yeah, I playing Division 4 years now. I have the same character. I don't make a new character every season. We're in season 11.
That's because you're not interested. Not everyone's the same, bro. You're not interested in finding out the different kinds of builds.
No, that's not it. I don't have the
many
time
kinds of builds.
investment.
You don't have the time.
I don't have the time to invest in it.
Yeah.
Right? I want a game. My number one thing is respect the player's time. Travis has said it in the chat. That's my number one rule when you play games. Respect the player's time. Okay? You don't respect the player's time, I'm out. So
they want you. One thing's for sure. After listening to that in-depth review about D4, 100% they want you no-lifing that game.
Oh yeah.
They probably have some kind of calculus professor working on the team who figured out that if you get 150,000 people to play for more than 60 hours at a time, you're going to make this much money. And they were like, great, let's work off of that. Like that's what they were doing. They had some guys running numbers.
Yeah, there's 2 stories we didn't get to tonight. One was the Cade 6 coming back. We can say that real fast.
No, you can say that real quick.
Yeah, so 5 years ago, when they killed him off at E3 and just kind of glanced over it, a couple shows after that, I said, don't worry, we're going to sell you Cade 6 back in expansion. And that was in 2000, I think 8, going into 19. And now here we are in 2023, and the final shape, I believe it's called, is the expansion that comes out in August. Cade 6 is coming back into the game. Now, obviously, I don't care why he's back in the game. If it's a vision, if he's not there or whatever, he's coming back to the game. Selling it to you, which I thought was pretty funny. So Cade 6 is coming back. Nathan Fillion's coming back as the voice actor as him as well.
Oh, I thought he was fired. That was over, Mike. They got rid of him. It's over.
So, right, in case of emergency, break glass. Cade 6, yeah. So Destiny's coming back with that, and the other story we have, I posted.
And they're selling you Titan back again, right?
Well, no, Titans. I think just the season. I don't know if they're selling you that back. That's just the season thing.
Right. They're not selling it to you, but you still have to buy the battle pass.
I'm not. Well, you can still go to Titan though. I would assume.
No, they brought Titan back in.
Right, but what I'm saying is you could go to Titan without purchasing anything. What I think. I don't know. I'm not playing. The game is called Unbreaking. Let me bring it back up.
Unbreakable?
No, it's not Unbreaking. Unbroken. I put it in the game trailers. Let me open it up. I put it in the.
Spoiler alert! The final shape, parallelogram.
Is that what it is?
I don't fucking know, bro. I don't play Destiny.
It's called Undawn with Will Smith. You guys go check out the trailer. It's in.
What?
Yeah, it's in
Undawn.
Undawn.
I'm looking this up right now.
It's in game trailers in our Discord. Okay, if you remember, you can go there. It's go watch the trailer. It looks like what was that one?
Legend.
Yeah, I Am Legend. That's what it looks like. I Am Legend, but it's the video game form now. But it's not I Am Legend. It's a completely different one. But Will Smith is the main actor inside the thing. Just missing a dog, which I'm probably sure you can probably get. But that's the stories that we missed that we didn't get to for the show. You know, we got to them now.
Oh my God, it is. It's I Am Legend.
Yes.
It's Will Smith with zombies.
Yes, it's
that's so
I Am
hilarious.
Legend, but with Will Smith.
That's hilarious.
It's in video game form, but it's not I Am Legend.
Was Will Smith's career in such a bad place that they had to use him for a video game thing first?
He smacked the shit out of Chris Rock at the Oscars last year. Remember?
It was just a light tap.
It wasn't a light tap.
That was a light tap, dude. Don't worry about it.
That'll do it for our Generation X Gaming episode 352 is in the can. We do appreciate you for coming out and hanging out with us each and every
That's a hello
week.
In our old neighborhood. That's a hello. Like, what's going on, buddy?
We're here. Oh, Andrew Dice Clay was on Joe Rogan. I have to watch the interview. I haven't watched it yet. But we're here Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we also do normal streams Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till about noon Eastern. And then we're here Thursday nights, 8 p.m. It runs for about 2.5 hours. If you like it, please hit that like button down below. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for the super chats during the show today. Appreciate very much for the memberships as well. If you'd like to become a member, it's $5 a month. Get plenty of content here to help support the channel. And then we're going to start doing member stream. We did a member stream last week. You guys missed it. Me and Stars did shoutcasting for racing. Well, we won. It wasn't supposed to end that way.
I wasn't playing.
It was NPCs just doing it, but me and Sarge won over everybody. But it was fun. I had fun doing the shoutcasting. So if you guys missed it, you can go check it out. Members got to watch it live, and then I opened it up to the public afterwards. You guys can check it out to see if you'd like to become a member. We're going to try other games like that as well. Appreciate it very much. There is a show tomorrow with Lono tomorrow afternoon. I will be live with Lono tomorrow afternoon talking, I'm assuming, about the PlayStation showcase and whatnot. And I think it's Alex is going to be on the show with us talking about the PlayStation show. So make sure you guys check that out tomorrow. Appreciate it very much. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Game on, guys.
They're two brothers and gamers that have been playing games since the early 1980s. Combined, they have over 65 years experience. Join them each week as they discuss and rant about gaming and entertainment news. This is Generation X Gaming.